So once again, hello everyone. Welcome to the Anime Sovereigns podcast, episode number 6. Today we're going to be talking about animation studios, kind of stylistic differences between them, and also staff, because I think staff in particular is definitely an aspect that kind of gets glossed over. It seems like more and more people, when we talk about shows and anticipation, there's a lot of people that, anticipate shows from certain studios, but they're not looking at like who's actually behind the show itself, like who's actually the creative mind, and things like that. And I think that is something that like we could talk a lot about, because we in particular, well, I mean, I don't know, but I know for a fact that all of us look for certain staff members, whether it's directors or like seiyus or even like storyboard creators. I've looked for in certain aspects, certain animators, of course, but and so like studios can vary pretty drastically, both in quality and in in many other aspects. My starting point whenever we talk about studios, I actually like to talk about some of my more bottom end instead of the top end to start. So like when I hear the word Silverlink, I have like some type of visceral like reaction in my body, and so like because like the thing is, like every season, you go and you browse and you're like, okay, what shows are coming up next season, right? And you're like excited, you're like, okay, what's coming up? Okay. And every time that I'm browsing and I come across a Silverlink show, I'm like, oh my god, bro, do I really want to go through this again? They've done this to me so many seasons in a row. It's like, I don't know. And then there's also like studios like JC Staff, where like it's like, that they could be really, really strong and really good, but then like sometimes the material they're throwing is dog shit. So I don't know. It just gets really ugly. Do any of you have studios that you're like, bro, I don't want to do this again?
Yeah, I definitely do. But just like going on like the idea of like what you said, but like studio is definitely like a pretty easy way to like calibrate your expectations for any given show. Like if you're browsing the new season, like, I mean, like you said, like Silverlink generally doesn't have a good reputation, specifically when it comes to like narrative and like character writing and really just like the source material that they choose to adapt. It's like very questionable, and it kind of sucks too, because Silverlink is like a studio that has like really good production quality, like especially like compared to like the substance of the works, but just on the topic of like studios that like I kind of actively like avoid or like don't expect anything from, if I had to like name like a least favorite studio, it would probably be Passione.
Oh god!
I was thinking about this yesterday because I thought that this topic would come up. This studio fucking sucks, bro. There's like mediocre studios that will like make things that just like fly under the radar and nobody will talk about. Like this studio has produced like some of the worst things that I've ever experienced. Like first of all,
Roka? Roka's fun. Roka's fun.
First of all, they've adapted my least favorite made my least favorite anime of all time, which is Citrus.
Yeah.
I've talked about like, why this show I think is like the worst like experience, like for me personally, like not objectively, but like for me, like I have like a visceral reaction whenever like I see this show, or whenever I hear it brought up. I'm just like, no bro. But then they've also like done things like Roka, which is like not like as like appalling, but it's just like if you've seen it,
Yeah. It shows like the definition of going through it, bro.
Yeah, more recently they've done things like the new Higurashi adaptations, which in my opinion kind of were a misfire, when it comes to just like the Higurashi series as a whole. And of course, who could forget interspecies reviewers? That whole thing. You can think what you want about that show, but if you think that like that show is like not questionable.
Nah, go ahead and say it, man.
Dude, like I like sampled the show for like 3 episodes just to see what was up, and I'm like, I never wanted like 90 minutes to like go by faster, you know, just so I could not watch it anymore.
Man, I'm really over this.
Bro, you're telling me you don't enjoy the great minds who produced the anime for High School DxD?
Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Like the thing
But
is,
yeah.
right? That I think like when it comes to like ecchi shows, right? I mean, they're not my thing at all. But like some of them are like tolerable. Interspecies reviewers is just like why? Why?
I mean, you're really towing the line between hentai.
Yeah, this
and,
is like
normal
actually
people
softcore
anime.
hentai. Yeah, this is like, I'm like, why don't you just watch porn? I don't understand. Well, at that point,
It
And then,
really,
like,
it really blurred the line between like hentai and TV anime. You know,
that's facts. That's facts.
Yeah, this is my pick for worst studio.
And like from them, like right, going off of Passion, like I think the thing that killed me the most about them was this fucking show was recent. Miracle.
I was gonna bring that up.
Bro.
Oh, yeah.
I
Either
just
they
like
do ecchi shows.
so it fucks me up, right? It fucks me up because we know how strapped the medium is for good horror. Like there's just not a lot of good horror out there in anime, at least like by volume. And so like when I read this analysis for Mariko-chan, I was like, you know what, this could be funny and it has some horror elements into it. What did I get? I got nothing but like creep shots that had didn't add anything to the show at all, bro. I was like, what is happening?
Not like this.
Bro, it's actually insane. I'm like, is this how the source material is? This is terrible. What the fuck? what is happening? What about you, Miguel? You got a studio that you're like, man, I really don't fuck with the shit that they do at all.
I don't think I like actively avoid anybody, but like I do kind of roll my eyes at like some, I guess. That's like Silverlink is like one. JC Staff has done like some of my favorite shows, but like it just seems like JC Staff pumps out so much content. I was like, yo, where are you guys getting all this stuff? And like it's a whole bunch of them are just things I don't really particularly care about.
Oh, is that
Yeah, it's
just
you
straight
get
up
like
JC?
J.C.
Oh, it's J.C. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stand up.
yeah.
Fucking-
Like, I'll just like casually.
Yeah. If there's one thing that Annuus can like improve on is like searching for things like this because
like,
it's
you
kind
know
it's
what
kinda
I
stupid,
mean,
it's
bro. Like,
Come on.
know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like JC Staff has done like one of my favorite shows in Bakuman, and they've done like a couple other random like solid things,
Mhm.
Yeah, like
and like but it seems like they've just done so
Indies.
many things. Like it's like look at how much stuff they've done.
Yeah, it's so much variance in the
Yeah.
in the
But
stuff that
yes,
they do.
it's kind of like A1. It's kind of like a grab bag of you get what you get.
Yeah, we'll get to A1.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. We
Yeah.
definitely gotta talk about it more.
I
Yeah,
think for
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah. I think for me,
Mhm.
this is not a studio that I hear the name of and I'm appalled, but more
Yeah,
so I'm
definitely.
like always scared.
Yeah.
Where if I hear the words PA Works, I just think to myself, this is the most like mixed bag of like my life, because some of these shows that they make, like Shirobako is like the prime example of like, this is one of my favorite shows of all time made by
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
But I think about all the shows that I've been burnt by watching PA Works, and I'm like, damn, bro, like Charlotte like turned to crazy.
Yeah.
Day I Became God definitely was like half baked, and then like there's just like Glass Slip is so boring. Sakura Quest I like couldn't get through.
Yeah, I couldn't get
And
this
so-
Sakura Quest either.
Like I hear like there's so many shows that like PA Works has made that I'm like, bro, I cannot like I just can't. But they bait me because
They do
sometimes
bait.
they make
That's
shows
facts.
like Aquatope on White Sand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, this show's great. But like the next time I'm watching a PA Works show, I know this is just gonna happen again. It's been happening to me for like 7 years.
Dude, I like PA Works because I just like choose to ignore like the show. Some of these, I was like,
Remember-
oh yeah,
remember-
dude, I like PA Works. I like Shirobako. I like Aquatope. I love Baki. It's one of my favorite movies. And I just think about it's like, oh, but I don't really like Charlotte. I don't like all other random things they done. They've done like a whole bunch of random garbage. Oh, another. Speaking of bad horror anime, that was not a good one.
Oh yeah.
When did they wait? They did Uma Musume? You're kidding
Yeah,
me?
they did.
Dude,
Yes,
they just do garbage sometimes. It's like crazy.
Yeah. It's,
But they also pull out some sick
so the
content.
thing is, like, my thing about PA Works is that like they got me especially fucked up because like I I started like watching anime probably around like 2015, like when Charlotte was one of the first series I like actually seeked out and like watched.
Why?
Just because it was early on. I just didn't know what I was getting myself into.
I remember seeing Charlotte advertise on YouTube ads.
Yeah,
And I'm like, dude,
yeah.
like, they were advertising as like the same like creators of like Clan Ad and
Yeah,
stuff
it was
like
Jun
that.
Maeda, so it's like, you know, this
God.
might be something. But okay, and so like I watched that and I'm like, man, that was kind of that was something. And then Sakura Quest came out and I was like, man, I really can't sit through this. And then finally they hit something for me. I really did like Irazuku. I remember watching This Week to Week. I really did like the show a lot. And so like when I watched this, because it's PA Works original, right? I'm a sucker for originals, so this is original, and I was like, all right, bet, like maybe I'll just watch originals from them because maybe that's where they come from. And then they came out with Fairy Gone, and this shit was dog shit. Oh my god! And then they did, and then somehow they did a second season of it.
Yo, 52%,
bro. It's so bad.
That's rough.
It's so bad. So then there was just like this like gray area this entire time. I like actively avoided like Appare Ranman. I was gonna actually watch this, but I actually ended up skipping it. I did watch
got to
this.
wait by the pandemic too, so that didn't really help.
And then like this show could have been so good.
Almost good.
That's most of these shows. They could have been so good.
But like it even started like if they would have kept it just like a normal like slice of life like comedy, it actually would have been a good show.
That's Maeda Jun, right?
Yeah.
Jun Maeda.
That's Jun Maeda in a nutshell.
Bro,
like,
towards the end of the show, they just hit us with some Jun Maeda bullshit. I'm like, why, bro? Why did you do this? I was having a good time.
The story of Jun Maeda, for those who aren't aware, he is like the almost like great writer of all time, you know? Like he always like has like ideas and concepts that like serve as a very strong foundation, but like by a certain point in every one of his shows, that foundation like crumbles because he like injects things that just like don't like mix well with the things that he's already established like in the show like itself, and then it just like things are like stitched together like so loosely like by the end. Like just like looking at like what he's done, like he's most known for things like Angel Beats, Charlotte,
Clan Ad,
The Day I Became God are like the ones just from PA Works that he's done for them,
for sure.
Which, you know, the studio in question that we're talking about. And many would argue that like he only like did one good thing, which was like Clan Ad After Story, which I'll give it up like pretty good towards the end. But you know, it's so aggravating because he never learns from his mistakes. Like he never. Ever.
I think that's the thing that irritates me the most. It's just like, no matter how many shows from Jun Maeda I watch, I know I'm still subject to the same bullshit on the next one. Like, please, bro.
Yeah, it's at this point where he's done it so many times that like I can almost expect all of his shows to like have the same flaws. You know,
I like his music though.
Oh yeah, no, he's pretty good at music.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
Yeah. Just to like close things out on like PA Works, like to me, like PA Works is definitely like a strike of genius studio. Like as like people have said, like they like things like Shirobako and Makia to me are like their standouts, like in terms of like TV and film respectively. But most of their other things range from mid to a little bit below mid, you know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting like going through like Annulus, because like Annulus like does things chronologically in terms of studio.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see like any given studio's like journey to like where they are today. Because like PA Works, like you can argue that the first thing that put them on the map was Angel Beats in like 2010. And you can kind of see like how their works have evolved from there, where they start to do more original stuff. Like Hanasaku Iroha is something that I watched and deemed kind of mid. Tari Tari is another one, and like these are these are their originals. So like to me, like I'm also like a pretty like big like advocate for original anime, but in terms of like the early stuff, like their originals were just kind of didn't hit the mark, but they were like, you know, the almost good type of missed the mark.
And like so just to kind of build off of that, right? The reason that I love originals in particular is because, you know, being the sovereign of atmosphere and direction, I care about that a lot. And so like sometimes it gets muddled when you're tasked with doing an adaptation. Like we've all seen shows where the source material is like really loved by like a fan base or whatnot, and sometimes it's just not a good fit. Sometimes it's not even the studio's fault necessarily. It's just that their style is maybe not the best suited to handle adapting across mediums, because it's not an easy thing, and sometimes I think we take that for granted, like how hard it is to bring something from our written format into an audio visual format such as anime. Like it's not easy at all. We're just so used to watching so many shows that it's a given at this point, but like it's difficult, especially with certain narratives. Like some are just way harder than others, and so like that's why I really appreciate originals, because we get to see like what can you do when you don't have that pressure of like making it super accurate to the source material. It's kind of just like an open canvas, like they get to take it in a direction that they want to, and I think that's really valuable in a lot of ways, and that's why I in particular love originals. But I've seen some dog shit originals too. It'd be like that sometimes. You can't,
when a studio can do it, they can do it. Like both Shirobako and Maki are both original works, and I'm like, they're both by PA Works, so to them I really want to like the things that they put out, but sometimes it's not that simple.
See, that's the problem, is that they've done enough good stuff where I'm like, I'll give their shows a chance. Like, but there's always that like looming thought in the back of my mind, like I could just be bored out of my freaking mind, dude. That's like true. I don't know if any of you have ever tried watching Glass Slip, but like no, I don't like to judge anime based on their premise, because anime can do anything with a lot of these premises. Like it doesn't matter. But like Glass Slip is about like this guy who's like trying to just make glass, and like it really doesn't do anything interesting. Like it's just that, and I'm like, this isn't even like educational. They're not going in depth. It's just boring.
Oh God, get it, dude.
I like don't care.
Oh no, bro.
Jeez Louise, bro.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. Like I do really believe in that too. I do believe that like regardless of how ridiculous or maybe it just like is a premise that doesn't do anything exciting or new, the execution can kind of make up for it. In a lot of cases when it comes to shows. But yeah, sometimes I think we just get left in the dust. It's just like, man, nothing happened any of these weeks. What is happening? Please give me something. And like PA Works is like, Aquatope, right? And Aquatope, there's so much we could talk about when it comes to Aquatope, because it's like one of the better originals, just period. I think it's really good
for sure.
And so like me in my mind, I'm like, man, Aquatope was really good. So now for like the next year or so, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Maybe I'll try what PA Works put out, because Aquatope was good.
You want to know like the unfortunate thing about Aquatope? So, like PA Works has kind of been like struggling financially recently. Like this kind of like stems from like they were kind of like hoping the Shirobako movie would pop off in terms of like the box office, but it didn't because of pandemic.
Yeah.
And that really sucked for them. And so like it kind of got harder for them to like make shows. And so like when Aquatope came around, like obviously like we liked it, but in terms of just like general word of mouth, like it didn't really succeed in that area.
Yeah.
And people were like, there was a rumor going around that this show would like eventually get a movie if it did well, but it didn't. And so they just ended it with like the last episode, like,
Oh, Aquatope?
I was fully expecting the 2-year jump to be a movie.
Yeah, I could totally see a continuation.
I was fully expecting the 2-year jump to be a movie.
Yeah. Like a little bit of a spoilers for the end, but like there's a time skip where like they skip like 2 years, and people like thought that like progression was going to turn into a movie, but it didn't, and then it just like was made into the last episode.
I feel that. Still though, at least it didn't end up like ruining the entire show.
Definitely.
Because
we just had their fair share of that, especially the Jun Maeda ones.
Yeah. Bro, I'm telling you,
special.
Kami-sama, I was like, man, I'm having so much fun. Like 9-10 episodes in, I'm like, bro, why are you doing this, bro? Please.
Like I literally like felt the Jun Maeda whiplash the ending stretch of that show. You almost did well.
Almost gold star. There was an attempt.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about this, right? Because this is the only thing they're doing this year.
It's okay.
Okay.
Like
I like the 3 episodes. It was not for me.
I think it's like I think it's a fun show, but like definitely don't like get your expectations up for something like
Mhm.
it's not like special or deep, but
Mhm.
I mean it's for me it's like entertaining, so it's like it's fine.
I was
I think
actually
it's, like-
surprised at how high the averages were on
Yeah,
YouTube.
people seem to like it.
People seem to
a lot.
really
I'm
like
so
it.
surprised the number of people who like talk about this show, because like I hear like I remember when Bobby mentioned it to us, and then I started hearing everywhere like "Your boy Kung Mei." I'm like, bro. But yeah, like I've mentioned the show a few times on the cast, but
Yeah.
like in my opinion, like as a comedy, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But like because it's like trying to be like, I don't know, like 70% comedy, 30% music, it kind of like falters in its musical aspects. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is whenever there is like a musical performance, like the show literally turns into a PowerPoint
Yeah,
presentation.
that's yikes.
It's really you really can't miss it. And to me, like it wouldn't bother me that much if it wasn't like so deliberate, because like everything else in the show like looks really good in motion. Like the comedy sections, like the more bizarre ones, like they look really good.
Mhm.
But comparatively, the music sections are just like so lazy, and I can't ignore it, you know. And it really sucks because you know I'm a really like big advocate for like music and like music production in anime, and whenever I see it tried but like never but not executed well, it just kind of hurts me, you know.
Yeah, it's like the concept is like really wacky and funny, and so that like leads to a lot of good comedy stuff. But if you like are expecting like a cool musical anime, like this isn't really that great. Like you could maybe say like I don't know, the nightlife setting is like kind of cool, and they kind of don't execute like particularly well. It's like
Mhm.
almost like it's just a lot of squandered potential.
I feel
Well,
that.
kind of like what we talked about before, like PWorks is definitely capable from like production value standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, and they even show it in this show because like, so the main character is like a singer basically, and then there's like a rapper guy that's also like a part of the group. I guess he joins after a little bit, and like his rap performances, they get like actual motion. It's like they try with him. So
I was surprised.
it just kind of seems like they're like, I mean, obviously with rap, it's like if you just show like a PowerPoint of rap, it's really not going to go that well because like you're going to want to like see like the characters like expressing themselves like during their performance. So that's probably why they chose to just give it to him and not to her. But it was just like, it's like, yo, you guys are capable. It just don't really want to or don't have the budget to do so. I don't know, one of the two.
Yeah, probably like plays into like the fact that like they're kind of struggling financially, and they kind of have to like delegate like financial resources to certain things.
Yeah, maybe.
This is just the result, you know.
Hey, but this show seems to be doing all right though. Like it's on High Dive and people are watching it, so there's that.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move to another studio that I'd like to talk about on the list.
I was literally going to suggest this after
Yeah.
we got done talking about PA Works, because like we've talked about like studios that like are like bottom of the barrel. We've talked about studios that are like 90% mid. We've talked about like studios like PA Works, which are like strike of brilliance in my eyes.
Mhm.
This is like like White Fox is like the definition of like a coin flip studio.
Yeah.
like
Like literal
episode
toss up.
they do might be like really, really amazing, and then the next one will just be like, what the fuck is this?
What is the point of all this? So White Fox, right? White Fox pisses me off. All right, I'm just full disclosure. All right, White Fox pisses me off. Why do they piss me off? Because I know that there's quality here. We obviously know Steins. We obviously know what that has done for the medium, right? They literally have a top 2 show on my list. Girls Last Tour. Fucking love this show to death, right? And so I know they're capable. I know for a fact, and I've seen it executed, but then they also give me bottom of the barrel dog shit like Goblin Slayer and Akame Got Killed. Like, why are we, why is it like this? Why every time I see White Fox on it, like, I don't ever know. Am I gonna get mixed? Am my ankles broken? Like, what? It's so infuriating. Like, it's so unbelievable. And like, I feel like most of the more popular stuff from them is like I guess it's a little bit more middling because obviously I think their most popular show is probably like Steins and ReZero at this point. But like
sure.
a lot of people have also seen like Akame Got Killed as well, which was like, I mean, I don't even like, just throw it away. But like ReZero was a cool experience watching week to week. I will definitely give them that. but it's just like, man, there's just so much variance. Like it's amazing how much variance a single studio can have. And like it's not even like they've been around like a super long time either. So like
they're not particularly prolific either. It's
it's just like in the span of a few years, it could really just be like we're gonna put out something that's a 9 and then put out something that's a 2. Like I don't know.
I've never seen Katana Gatsuri, but like I mean I've heard good of that too.
Yeah, related to like Nisio and works.
Yeah,
So-
It's a little dense. It can be hard to get through because the episodes
it's
are
40
an hour
minutes.
long and it's
Yeah, it's
Nisio
like-
dialogue.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
It's like a 12 episoder, but it's like they're double length episodes plus. So
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of-
I mean that's a lot. That's just a lot in and of itself.
If there's any silver lining to like White Fox, and like this might just like be like me like in retrospect, but like I think it's pretty easy to tell when their show is going to be good and when it's not.
Okay.
It's not even like I have to like sample it to like know that this is going to be like one of their better works or this is going to be like one of the ones I'm going to like avoid like the plague. So, but again, that just might be me like reminiscing like over like the works that they put out over the years.
It could
you
be
know?
confirmation bias. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't even know like what this
Has
thing
that- yeah,
is.
has
that
what the
they're-
hell is
even,
that?
like-
It's
like, what
28
is this?
episodes.
Well, I don't even know what this is.
Oh, it's a prequel.
It's-
That's a
Is it a
prequel.
prequel? Is it something that they've already done?
How much content does this thing have? It's like there's another
This is a
prequel,
lot.
and they're all like
Holy
20
shit.
something episodes.
This is
It's
from
actually a
20,
Starts next
2015.
month.
Amnesia War Pop. Whoa, this is a lot. There's a lot going on here. I don't know what this is, but it looks like it's a journey.
There's only one recommendation, and it's Log Horizon. It looked like.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah, that's all over the place.
It's on High Dive too.
It's on
also
on
in jail.
Crunchyroll.
Oh,
Okay. I don't know, bro.
Okay, White Fox.
Oh, it's a visual novel adaptation. You even see that?
Okay.
Mm.
Well,
That's
Yeah,
never
I
gone
mean-
wrong ever.
well, White Fox did do like one of the best visual novel adaptations. Let's not forget. But it's also White Fox, so
Yeah, I definitely don't like I don't know when was the last time I like saw something coming from White Fox and was like yeah, dude, I'm really excited to see that. To be fair, they haven't put
things
out that
related to,
many
like,
things.
They're already acclaimed works.
Yeah, like they don't do that much either. Like it like 2021, they only have ReZero's second season. Like it's not even like they're putting out a ton of volume.
I mean, I guess when you're making ReZero, you make so much money that like,
That's
do you really
true.
need anything else?
That is true. That is true. That is a hard carry series for sure.
Yeah.
Like, they could
They're
probably survive on
definitely,
that
like,
alone.
I know another studio we can segue this off of, but like there are definitely some studios that definitely like make shows to like fund their other shows. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And to me, the first studio that comes to mind when I think that is Sunrise, because
Ooh.
like Sunrise is a very like they've been around for a long time. They're very reputable.
Long ass.
We
time.
need money.
They're responsible
Start
for like,
The
a
Love
lot-
Life machine.
Yeah, a lot of classics like
Look how far
Bebop,
back they
like
go.
Code Geass, like Gintama, like
Yep.
they do good stuff. Like
Yes,
confirmed,
absolutely.
like it's undoubtable. But they also do things like Gundam and Love Live, which are definitely to appease a very like large audience that would definitely give them money. You know,
They
pretty
have been
pure.
around for so long, bro. Holy shit.
what is that canceled? one at the bottom?
1972. I don't know. Mariah.
Oh yeah,
Rise,
these guys are some of the OGs. Like
Yeah,
straight up.
they've been around for a long. The
they've
70s,
been around
bro.
forever. And like this is another like studio where it's like it's so like fascinating to like see like their journey from like Gundam to Love Live, you know?
Yeah. Who would have thought they'd be the same studio? Like, what?
How do you get there?
What's really funny is that Gainax attempted to do the same thing. Like if you look at like
I could see
Gainax
that.
when they were still making stuff,
Mhm.
they were trying to get on the Magical Girl train and really tried to follow through with what Sunrise is doing, but Sunrise already did it, so it didn't
Yeah.
work.
they
And like
kinda
Sunrise
beat
is
it to
still
the
going
punch.
because like they branched into like 2 smaller studios or something.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like
because they have like
D&D and-
Sunrise. Yeah.
Sunrise Beyond and Sunrise,
Sunrise
something. I don't
Beyond.
forget.
Yeah.
It's like Bandai Namco Pictures.
Yeah. B&E.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like they did like some of the Inuyasha movies too. Like they just done so much shit. Like
Oh no, I'm pretty sure Sunrise did all of Inuyasha.
They just money print. They're just like, you know what? We're little low on funds. Go ahead and put out something
Hey, you can't complain for a company for doing that. So it's like,
No,
whatever.
I'm not mad at them. Like that's the thing. It's like in the industry like this, like sometimes if you have that opportunity, I cannot blame them because like some of the biggest things, like some of the biggest capabilities in the medium are because they have, you know, good budget and are able to operate within those bounds. Like we always talk about unlimited budget works and UFO Table. It's like they are able to do that stuff because they have money. You can't do it without money. So I don't blame these people for being like, all right, let's make some money off of some idol girls real quick, and then we'll.
You can just look at like how much Code Geass stuff comes out.
Oh yeah, no, lately it felt like Code Geass has been a money machine for them too.
Yeah, like Code Geass is over, but like they just keep making random things. It's like, oh, cool.
Yep.
Code Geass is like their cash cow at this point.
That's facts. That is definitely facts. Yeah,
and like all
so
the Love
much.
Live content, obviously.
Giant fighting robots and idol girls. What a fucking world, man.
What a studio, bro.
What a studio.
There's two big like anime adjacent niches. Like I always like to say that like if you're a Gundam fan, like yeah, you like anime, quote unquote, but you're probably mostly a Gundam fan.
Yeah. It is
likes
very
big robots.
It's
like
very
big robots.
polarizing. And like to talk about Sunrise Beyond, right? You know,
They even have a
can you
page
guys
on it?
hear?
I do.
Can you guys hear the music that I'm playing? I actually don't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. So like Sunrise Beyond, they did Kyokai Senki, and like the thing about this show, right, is that I watched it because I was like, you know, it's Sunrise. It's literally it's like it's fighting robots, bro, and that's like kind of what they're good at. Okay, but the main thing that attracted me is that it's full Annie. There's no CG in this show for a you know giant mecha show, which is like not common at all. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna try that just because like that's different. It was pretty bad. And so now I'm just like, I don't know if I want to take a chance again. I just feel like there are other studios that are doing mecha better. And I don't know if that's because I'm not super into Gundam itself as a series. But I have enjoyed like relatively recent mecha shows. Like I enjoyed like Gridman and stuff like that. So it's not that I don't like mecha shows, it's that I don't know. I think their writers are just like not doing it for me or something like that. It's pretty unfortunate. I don't that one was a neutral face for you, but I mean I don't know, man. I think it was really long too.
They do like some cool stuff. Like Tiger and Bunny, I think is like a really like unique type of like take, which is really cool. They even like don't have to like because like they do like daily lives of high school boys, and that show's great. That's like you know.
Yeah, they have some like random stuff thrown in there too. Like what the hell is Scarlet Nexus? I don't know what this is. Like I don't.
We've seen that in one of our samplers.
What is Dazzling White Town? Wait, go to Dazzling White Town.
That's just Love Live music, dude.
Love Live music.
Any music they have, they'll any animated music they have, they'll put it on.
I see.
As much as we've like talked shit about like they're branching out into Love Live, we are watching the second season of Superstar when that comes out next season.
We use a lot of people. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, me, Bobby, and Dylan. You know,
Love Live Superstar was not terrible, which is impressive.
Yeah. So like I actually like idol shows. Like I'm fine with idol shows. I just never got on the Love Live train. Like I just wasn't. I just never like really.
It's okay.
On the most part, it's really just like the biggest thing holding back the idol genre. Ironically, it's just because like sometimes it's just too much. Like there are just so many characters in any given idol show that it just gets hard to balance and juggle, you know. Which kind of like concerns me for the second season of Superstar because apparently more members are joining, and that's
no.
I
don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear that.
Because the reason
this show worked was because there were 5 people this time.
There were only 5, but now apparently they're adding like more characters. I'm like,
no, don't lie to me. Do not lie to me. Stop.
I guess. What's crazy about Love Live, to be honest, is that like there's like this distinct like feeling and direction in the show that's like so. I can only describe it as it feels as though that this anime came in a can off a conveyor belt in some factory that like I don't know what it is. Like, is it bad? I can't like say it's like bad. All I can say is that it's the most like artificial, like feeling anime that I've ever like.
Certainly is one of the most anime of all time.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something that was like meant to advertise the other parts of the franchise, you know, like the mobile game. And like I'm like through like secondhand like stuff because like my sister is like a big Love Live fanatic. She like plays the mobile game. She's watched all the anime. She is by all definitions like a Love Liver. And you know, I haven't like gotten swept up in like her passion for the franchise, but I just know that like just purely like looking at the anime that I can like ask for more from like this genre that has like, you know, established standards, you know.
Yeah, it's this is just a lot. Sunrise. Like if I were to give a description, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. But the
All right.
next studio, I want to talk about Lerche.
I was thinking about talking about the studio. Or not.
It's
I mean, we can. It's just
yeah. It's so like
Carl. My perception of like Leche is like so weird. Like, granted, I haven't like watched like their most recent things, but like to me, like around like the 2015-2016 era is like when I like started to like, you know, recognize and like notice them as like they do like really like dark stories that like kind of like subvert your expectations to begin with. Like things like Gakugarashi and Magical Raising Project both like fit in that definition.
But then they do
They did Ass Class too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They did do Ass Class. That's true.
And also Danganronpa adaptations.
Yeah. I wonder, like, are they like super held up by Danganronpa adaptations? Is that
not really? Okay. It's just funny to think about that, like I said, like in 2016 is when like the Danganronpa 3 anime came out, and like that's like anime original content. Like that's not part of the games at all.
I see.
Like,
I see.
So, but it kind of like fits in line with like things that have like dark narratives and kind of like start off as like something that is like, you know, relatively normal, I suppose.
I see. I actually like looking through Lerche stuff. Like, honestly, like I think my favorite thing from them, I mean, for meme culture, like of course Gakugarashi will always have a place in our hearts. But like I think my favorite thing from them, legit as a show, is probably Jibaku Shonen. Like this show had a really cool art direction. It's really cute. And it was like pretty funny, like a good amount through it. So I was actually
it's very popular too. I'm surprised at the amount of people who like know what this is, considering
it's
how
really
like how strange and bizarre it is.
Yeah, it's just like I think that it really captivated people with the way the art style is. Like it is
There's
very
like a
unique.
niche that really loves this show.
Yeah,
like, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I was just like, huh. I definitely mirror that sentiment too, where like I watched it and I was like, you know what, that was pretty solid, and I didn't expect for people to be talking about it, but I've definitely seen this come up in conversation like out of the blue a few different times. So I don't know, more people have seen it than I thought they did. Lerche just kind of, I don't know, their quality to me is not incredibly high. Like I did try this recently. This was like pretty not
middle of the road.
It's, it was pretty non-spectacular. And I haven't seen, me personally, I haven't seen Assassination Classroom, so I don't really have expectations for you know, the upcoming. I think is this next season? Oh yeah, 28 days.
That's Classroom of the Elite. People seem to like.
I always mix those up, bro.
People seem to like that a lot too. But I've also heard mixed things about it.
So which one is better?
Classroom of the Elite versus Ass Class? I mean, I like Ass Class. It's pretty good.
Which one is better? I think that like Assassination Classroom is probably better, but Assassination Classroom's also finished.
Okay.
Classroom of the Elite like falls under a lot more like tropey like types of things, but I guess the story is a little more ambitious. Like an Assassination Classroom is very quirky. I would say Classroom of the Elite is a lot more edgy. Like the main character is that kind of like, I'm not gonna call him black pilled. He's like he's like an edgy loner type in school, and he has like
okay.
Lelouch-esque powers. Like he takes a kind of a Lelouch like type
the
of role.
all-powerful, like edgy lord. Okay, I see.
Yeah, Assassination Classroom is a lot more like quirky, kind of comedy, and it's like trying to tell a more like wholesome story in a very unconventional way.
Okay.
Classroom of the Elite is a lot more of a conventional story for anime, I think.
I see.
It's not like poorly executed or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just another thing that's out there.
I just like I said, I always get those two mixed up. And like whenever Classroom of the when this got announced, like the sequel, like there were some people that I knew that were like really popping off about it, so I wasn't sure if it was like really something to write home about, or you know
I mean, it's good enough that like I'll watch the second season, but I'm not gonna like say that it's like God or anything.
Yeah, you're not like jumping out of your seat to whatnot. Okay, that's like fair. I mean, Lerche is I don't know. I still don't know how to
done better as of late.
That's
They've done better. I remember 2018 people liking Asobi.
Oh
Something
yeah. I actually remember that too. I was actually gonna watch this show, but I didn't end up watching it. I think I remember.
Yeah, same. I didn't really end up watching it.
This because it reminded me of GLT. That's what it reminded me of GLT, and I was like, maybe I'll give this a try, and I just never got around to it. I don't know.
Mole Adventurers.
Yeah. Okay, next studio. Who's the studio that does Revengers? Who's the Revengers studio?
Linden Films.
Linden, right?
Oh,
man,
God, no,
guys.
fuck these guys. Fucking hate these guys, dude.
Oh my God! Wait, is it
Pretty fair.
Is it Linden?
Honestly.
I think wait.
Is it Linden?
Maybe you can just go to Revengers, and that's probably
Yeah.
easier.
No, it's Liden Films, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think
there's
it's.
no end.
Oh.
There's no
Like,
end.
Oh, my bad.
It's not a big deal. Here you are.
Fuck these guys, dude.
Liden Films.
So aggressive.
Just fuck them.
They pump out a lot of content too.
They
I don't
do.
know where they get it from.
Their best shows are like pretty mid from like
Yeah.
they've made like a couple of like decent shows, but it's like there's this swamp.
No.
There's a
Oh
yeah,
I
they
feel
did
like-
some garbage. They've done some garbage.
So the
Rapid
problem,
Return.
my problem is that
grudge.
like I feel like this studio, like all of the shows that I've heard of, like and I actually know of, are famous for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like like I've heard of Terraformers, but like
Oh, yeah.
it's-
I
You
heard
really
messed
wanna
up the
watch
Initial D remakes
oh
by
yeah,
not putting
yeah,
in
I remember.
Eurobeat.
Yeah,
Imagine
I
that.
remember being mad about
Could
that.
not be me.
Like I tried Swartz Markin way back when it was not good. The craziest part about this show is that like there was some random show that I tried recently that turned out to be like either like was it a sequel or it was like in the same universe or something, and I was like, bro, what the fuck, how did these line up at all? I don't understand. I don't get it at all. I was like, I'm done with this. I tried, what else did I try? I tried their Romeo and Juliet show. This one was actually pretty alright. Is it?
Where is it?
Oh yeah, here it is.
There it is.
So
Yeah.
like this
They're
is like
so
okay.
prolific.
Yeah, it's like middle of the
Dude, see,
road.
next to,
Oh,
like,
they
the
did
Terraformers
Hanabato.
thing is
Yeah,
just
they
like-
did Hana, they did both. They did
No-
two badminton
No
shows. 'cause they did
no
Ryman's
wonder
Club,
that
too.
OP is like that.
That's tough. That's
They tried
actually
to like cover their tracks. And, like, no, we're doing a group badminton show. We didn't make a bad one.
Hey, at least Hanebado, like if you actually watch the show, it's like a flaming pile of garbage that's so spectacular that it's kind of fun. But
Okay.
that said,
You can enjoy it
most of
ironically at least.
yeah. There at least you can do that. A lot of these shows though, I can't. They're just bad. Just bad.
Akashic Records. That was
That's
awful.
just-
I also
That was just bad.
Killing Bites. I have a visceral reaction when I hear that name. Like I was just like, bro, this is not it. This is not it at all.
This is not it.
I
What's
try.
crazy
They
is
baited me here too. They baited me because I
I
love
watched-
edgy magical girl shows. And
I
was
watched
like,
one episode of that. I was like, no thanks.
It's like, God, it's so bad. What were you saying, Bobby?
Oh, I mean, like if you just look at like these later years, like the more recent years, you can see how like prolific they are with how many shows they're pumping out. It's like honestly ridiculous. Like I feel like if you look at any seasonal thing like nowadays, you're getting at least like look at this all in 1 year,
crazy.
2021.
Yeah,
that's insane. I feel like if like nowadays when you're looking at like the charts of like the new shows coming out, I feel like they have like 2 or 3 shows like for the past like 7 seasons or something. Like they have like multiple shows every single season, and
That's
it's
true.
always just a, like bulk. It feels like it's very
Yeah.
rarely something like special or like very interesting to watch.
Yeah, like that. Like they're most famous, of course, recently being Revengers. Like a lot of people fucking love Tokyo Revengers. This is like one of those shows that I watched just because I knew everyone would be talking about it. And like, I don't know, I didn't like it that much. But like, I don't know, man. I just it just feels like some of the writers in the studio are just like off their rockers. Like I don't know what they're doing. Like I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with some of their things. Like is Revengers supposed to be like cool because it's like, you know, it's like people and they're tough as shit and they're fighting each other, but then like people are getting hit by lead pipes and shrugging that shit off. So are they superhumans? Like what is going on here? There's time travel, but the time travel premise doesn't make any sense. And so like I'm just left just confused the entire time.
It could have been like a halfway decent show if the time travel literally wasn't even like a part of it.
Yeah, like they could have just
like
made
just
it
make it like a
show.
delinquent show.
They could have just made it a delinquent show, and I actually agree with that. I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I didn't get like, you know, shoveled in bullshit time skip premise. Like what is going on here, bro? Just if you want to see people smack each other in the head with blunt objects, just do that. You don't have to do time travel.
And nothing happened. I'm like, yeah.
I was like, bro,
Get stabbed in the back and then proceed to take out 50 people. And then
I was like, what the fuck?
And then die after. He's like,
no
this
spoilers or anything, but
this injury was so not fatal. I'm gonna fuck up 50 people and then die. I was like, oh, okay.
All right, man. Like shit. Man.
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I did like Ryman's Club though. I did think this
Pretty
show
good,
was
yeah.
solid though. You know.
Right. If we're talking about like prolific studios,
Okay.
then we gotta talk about like A1 because like
Yeah.
almost like by like any definition, like it's there's a dash. Yeah, there it is. This
Oh my
studio
God, they've
like
done so many
operates
things.
on like the philosophy of make anime until something good comes out. You know.
Yeah.
Throw
it on the shit at
it's
the wall.
real good.
They make so many things just
Yeah.
like they started really like ramping up like at the turn of like the decade, like in 2010
Yep.
ish, and they just started like making things like it was their job because it was, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's good.
yeah, but like we could pick out like a bunch of shows that like could stand out, like, you know, they're the best show that they've created. Like we were like going through yesterday, so things like Anohana, things like Your Lie in April, things like Kaguya definitely like stand at like the top of the things that they've like produced over the years. But like compared to like how much they've put out, it's just like this. They have like an entire like anime as a medium is like an ocean of so much, like of so many different levels of quality, but like A1 accounts for like a lot of that.
Yeah. So
like they have their own ocean like repertoire.
they have done just an obscene amount of shows like over the past decade. Like A1, like when I think of A1, it almost feels like, and this actually might be the case, that they have like they're like such a large producing studio that they have like kind of an A team and a B team. And sometimes it's very easy to tell like this is done by, you know, their primary staff members that they really want to put a lot of time and effort into. And sometimes, you know, some of this stuff is done by their B team where it's like, okay, we're putting this out, you know, maybe to just make a little bit of money. We're not expecting it to be like, you know, something super crazy, because like the stuff that they put out, while I will say that, like, you know, there's some really not great stuff amongst A1, there's also great stuff, of course. But at least all the bad things or all the stuff that is mid or bad, it's still like pretty popular, right? Like if you really think of like the stuff that is not super great from A1, it's like there is still a pretty a pretty solid fan base for them. Like you know, a lot of people talk about like Black Butler, of course, Sao. We talk about that, Oraimo, right? Like it's just like there's so many shows that are like, you know, these are not fantastic, but there are people that love them, like regardless. And that's, I don't know, that's something so valuable. I think that they've
the number of shows that come out of A1 that are like, you know, watchable and that people like could just like turn on and like watch is like very, very high, you know.
I think like even beyond that though, because like you talk about like the A team and B team, but like even a lot of the shows that they've made that are like not very well produced, like are actually like low key like sleeper really good. Like Silver Spoon and Space Brothers are both shows where I feel like the production quality is like not there, but I feel like those shows are also like absurdly solid. Like they're very, very good. And then like, so like you can't even say that like it's immediately obvious off the bat if this show will be like their A team, B team, and like if that's an indicator for how good it is, because clearly Arrow Manga Sensei had a lot of effort put into it for a complete dumpster
for the wrong
fire.
reasons.
Right. And so it's like, you know, I think Jeffrey kind of touched upon this earlier, but like they really are like, as like their depth is like insane. Like if a lot of studios have like a trademark thing or a signature like genre, or like they're really good at like maybe like action scenes or like heartfelt stuff or something like that. But A1 like really is like jack of all trades, master of none, you know? Like they if any kind of show comes out of A1, I like really can't have any expectations because it's A1, you know? Like they really could just come out with anything.
That is true. I could definitely, I could agree with that for sure. I just like, man, it's actually crazy. Like just how like the volume is just so staggering that like, I feel like it's natural for some things to slip through the cracks. Like if A1 is doing, you know, 2, 3, 4 shows in a season, which is like pretty common at this point. Like they just do a lot of shows. It's like, because of the way that I like to sample shows, I like to get a lot of different like styles from different studios and whatnot, if possible. It's like, damn, I really have to just take a chance on like 2 of the 4 A1 shows, and I don't know if I'm gonna choose the good ones. I have no idea. I might just miss.
It's really kind of a shame because like I think like my personal favorite works from like A1 kind of get dwarfed by like their more popular franchises like SAO and like things that like, you know, are like, you know, the flavor of like the season, like Erased.
Erased
like
is really
the things I like about or the shows I like out of A1 are like Kaguya, obviously, and things like Working. I love Working, but like that show is like not popular in the grand scheme of their repertoire. Even though it got 3 seasons, which how did that happen?
I really like Wotakoi. But like, it's like if you're gonna talk about like rom-coms that A1 is done, it's like people are just gonna talk about Kaguya.
Bobby mentioned Space Brothers, and that definitely is like one of the most like fly under the radar shows of all time. And yeah, like that just like speaks more to like just the sheer amount of things that they put out.
So
they
like
able to dwarf themselves in terms of content.
Like it's insane because like every season, like almost every season for A1, they have a show that is like talked about a lot. Like there's like one show, like, you know how like every season comes out and there's like that show that, you know, everyone's going to be talking about, like this season, like Spy Family, right? Like everyone's talking about Spy Family. I feel like A1 has one show like that, like almost every season. Like there's some show that for one reason or another, whether it's for good reasons or bad, people are talking about it. Like it's absolutely crazy how they managed to do that, and also still put out, you know, 2 or 3 other shows on top of that show that you know everyone is kind of talking about. Like everyone was talking about Arrow Manga Sensei whenever it came out, like dog shit, but everyone was talking about it. You know, Darling in the Franxx, right?
Jesus. What's crazy is that like I feel like it's probably felt like that like a smidgen less like more recently, but I think that's also because Cloverworks is a subsidiary of them. And so it's just kind of like, oh man, dude, like all this Cloverworks show this season is like the thing now. And so it's like, that said, not that A1, the main studio, has been left in the dust, because obviously Kaguya is out this season and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, I wish A1's like that studio that I wish their most popular shows were more for me, because then I would be blessed with always having something, right? That's a blessing. In anime, if your favorite series or your favorite studio is putting out stuff for you consistently, it's like, you know, you always have something to watch. Unfortunately, you know, A1's IPs are not like my favorites. I wouldn't say, but they definitely have some quality stuff. But like, I wish I could get this kind of volume on my favorite stuff, if that makes sense. Like, my favorite
Yo,
things.
dude, I'm just saying, Space Brothers is 99 episodes. It'll hold you down for a while, okay?
I might actually watch it.
go.
Like, I'm
Here we
actually
go.
thinking about watching it, but
It's definitely on my watch before I die list, you know.
that's true. That's true. So,
yeah.
so I want to, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if you're an anime fan in this day and age, it's like impossible to avoid A1. Like, that's how much they've like established themselves with this type of like, I guess like model that they've done for producing anime.
So before we go on to the next category, I do want to speak on one outlier studio, which is pretty eccentric. And so like Trigger,
Yo.
right? That a lot of people don't really know about like the story of Trigger, because like Trigger and the whole Gainax thing and whatnot. But
Yeah.
like
The Zoomers don't know.
yeah. So like, long story short, Gainax was a thing. Gainax known for like, you know, Gurren Lagann and whatnot, and some of the
Eva.
people, Eva. Some people broke off from Gainax and formed Trigger, who still went on. Like, you could definitely tell though, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't know, but like, if you watch a Trigger show and you watch a Gainax show, you're like, yeah, like this is the same thing. Like, this is the same people, because they're so like, I think the one adjective I'll use to describe Trigger and Gainax is just eccentric. They're just really out there. Like, they just are just kind of all over the place with a lot of the shows that they put out. Like, you've never seen like Inferno Cop, or, you know, like I said, Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill, God forbid. Like, they're just out there. Like, they just
It's just like, you know, like, it's like stylistically like sharp, colorful. The character designs are like nutty, like the character designs are colorful and nutty. And then like explosions and like particles and random stuff.
Like, there's a capacity for things to go batshit insane at any time. Like, it could really just.
Yeah, like I think it's so. Obviously, we talked about like a few different studios, and like some of them, you know, they kind of feel like it's like, oh, they can do like, you know, any kind of show. But then there's like those handful of studios that you look at, like, and immediately it's like, okay, that's Trigger, that's Shaft, that's Kill Annie, Ghibli probably. It's like
I definitely think
Science Saru as well, but for like an entirely different reason. But it's like you look at it, it's like, okay, that's that. Like,
well, I think like you could even include like Science Saru in that group, because I feel like there's some studios in
Yeah.
I think that Trigger and Gainax are like, a lot of their distinct like style stems from like Hiroyuki Imaishi, you know, and I think his influence on the studio, even if a show is not being made by Hiroyuki Imaishi, I think he's the one who like pioneered his style and like influenced and inspired like a ton of others like around him, like within the studio, to like create shows like he does, like fall into like his vision. Because like I think the same can be said about like Shaft and Akiyuki Shimbo and Science Saru and Masaki Yuasa. But like there's just so much like personality, you know, and I feel like this is where like the individuals start to like really bleed into like the studio.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think that's what it really means to be impactful, right? There's like, you could be a part of like a show that does really well, and that's great and all. But for your style and your vision to bleed into, you know, studios as a whole, or even other people within the same realm, I think it's something that's like super, super cool, that we can even still pick out influences from these people, even if it isn't necessarily, you know, created directly by them. And I think that definitely comes through when we're talking about studios like this. They're just like, they just do things. Like,
I really like love talking about like anime like that, because like it when you like consider that there's like so much like inspiration that goes on just with artistic styles, like it really like plays into anime being like an artistic medium, which I love, and then that's what I see anime as, but not everybody does. But when we can like trace back like these like ubiquitous like styles that like we see nowadays, like like Trigger, like it's so easy to like identify a Trigger show. Just for instance,
Yeah.
Like tracing that back to like its origin, just like it's really fascinating and something that like if you do this, then like you're invested, and that's great.
Yeah, they're doing it for
Yeah.
Ocom season 2.
Happening.
Bro.
I'm ready,
bro. Finally,
I
The
cannot wait. They're also doing Cyberpunk, which is like
What? Like the game?
yeah, like the game. Like it's an adaptation of the game. I was like, okay.
that works, and that works for them.
Yeah, no, like I actually
No.
think it makes sense. I just was like,
Definitely works for them.
I can't
They
believe
can definitely pull that off.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I me personally, like they're like almost on that list of like if they're putting out something, I would try it because I really do appreciate, that I feel like they're so different from a lot of different studios that, and that they just bring something to the table that I have a really good appreciation for. I also think that because of that, they're very polarizing, right? Like I think some people will not like Trigger shows. Like I totally understand. Like I think it's sensory overload for a lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot
Trigger's
of shit
not
is
my
going
thing.
on at once. Like
I might try like some of them, but they're not
Yeah.
really my thing. It's
yeah,
like,
it can be overwhelming. I think for a lot of people. So I don't
definitely.
Even
That is definitely the right word. You watch Promare and just be like, oh my gosh.
Word Trigger is
see Promare,
definitely
bro.
a loaded label to put on a show.
What a
like to
fucking
me,
word.
like Trigger, like the most defining like part about Trigger is like they're like the studio that like commits to the absurdity, like
Yeah.
they go full send on it, and like
Mhm.
because like it's so easy for like shows like the ones that Trigger puts out for other studios to like take them a little bit like more seriously than I think that they were intended to. But like when
Yeah,
you look at
for
things
sure.
like Trigger, the things that Trigger has put out, like things like Kill la Kill, things like Little Witch Academia, to me,
Mhm.
things like Promare, it's just that, like they go full send on like the ball to the wall like philosophy.
Hey, Gurren Lagann
Which-
was like Gynax at
Yeah,
that point.
that-
but, like,
yeah,
Gurren
yeah,
Lagann
for
goes
sure.
to
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Gurren Lagann is definitely like the most like Trigger guy next show. Like,
yeah.
it's
like
easy to see.
Yeah, it's definitely them. It's definitely those guys. Okay.
Promare was like literally like a love letter to like that era of anime.
Yeah. Yep. I'm actually quite excited for Inferno Cop 2. Like I
That's
am.
crazy.
I'm ready for
I'm not gonna
Gridman
lie.
X
Yeah, this would be cool too.
Dynazenon.
It's a movie. Yeah, I don't know when it's
Yeah.
gonna come out, but
It'll happen.
I gotta watch Dynazenon to catch up before it comes out because I did really like Gridman, so there's no reason I shouldn't. I shouldn't watch that one, but
Yeah.
so the next studios I want to talk about are kind of the rising stars, right?
Yeah.
Maybe studios that didn't have super like prolific beginnings, but have grown to be some of the more consistent, some of the higher quality studios out there. And I think there's a lot. There's actually a good amount that we could talk about here. But let's start since we mentioned them earlier. Let's talk about Cloverworks.
Yeah.
Yes, I love Cloverworks.
I remember when I first saw their name, and it was like on like the Fairy Tail final season, as like a sub-studio. Like, and I'm just like, and also like on Darling in the Franxx as well.
They also
And-
did Bunny Girl.
Yeah,
But that was
in the
more
same
like-
year, but like to
Yeah.
me, like, like when in the year of like their inception, it was like, I don't know. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. This, like Bunny Girl, right? Bunny Girl in particular was like, it's the only show I watched of them their first year in 2018. And like my thing about Bunny Girl is I almost didn't watch it. I almost didn't watch it because of this fucking cover art. I looked at the cover art and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I don't know if I want to. This doesn't look like it's for me at all. It actually ended up being pretty solid, a pretty solid show. But like back then, right, I wasn't nearly as well versed on like studios as I am now. And so like I didn't like glean anything from the fact that Bunny Girl was good. I just was like, okay, cool, that was a show.
If I remember like properly, like back in 2018, a lot of the Cloverworks shows that were like coming out weren't like explicitly labeled like Cloverworks. Like they would still use A1's like name as like the branding. So like because I remember recalling like Darling in the Franxx and Bunny Girl like as A1 shows in my mind. Like I remember the Persona 5, the animation thing is the same thing. But like the Cloverworks name, like I guess existed and like was retroactively like fitted now that they're bigger, they can like
also
them more directly.
Also, like with the exception of Bunny Girl, like in that like 2018 year, like all those random things they helped out on, that's what they were doing. They were helping out. Like Darting in the Friendax was not like primarily
just them, because
that's a Trigger show.
Trigger, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a Trigger show, but like they outsourced some people, I would assume.
I think
and
they
like
really
Fairy Tail, it's like they did not just do Fairy Tales last season.
They definitely
helped
did.
out.
Yeah, of course not.
I think most people got their like this show, right? Like this was a show that a lot of people we're talking
that was like their first like
the first like
explicitly Cloverworks.
Yeah,
this is definitely like the first show where they had a lot of expectations, because this is a very like renowned manga amongst like manga fans, and so like they were kind of like skeptical about the adaptation, which nowadays I wouldn't kind of say that like maybe they were right being skeptical.
Yeah. I mean, at least the first season was solid, at least.
Yeah. The first season was pretty good. The second season, they like set themselves up for failure, because like for the very beginning.
It's really funny, like how Promised Neverland panned out, because it's like the manga started amazingly, and I'm sure you can say the same for the anime. And then the anime falters for its own complete reasons of like absolutely just failing. But like what's really funny is that if you try to read the manga to see what the original is like, the original also ends up messing up the ending too.
Oh,
and so it's
but a completely different reason.
Yeah, it's really funny how like there's just two bad endings here. Like there's no.
That's really unfortunate. I would not wish that upon anyone, bro. That's so sad. That's so sad, bro. But then like there was definitely a shift though, right? Like because Neverland came out, and then like 2020, I didn't watch any of these shows. I didn't watch any of these.
I don't know if those are any of those are shows.
Probably.
I think they're just
actually, this was a show. I do remember people talking about this. This is the story about a guy who literally has unlimited money in his bank account, and so like he's like a spy and shit. He can just do whatever he wants. Like he pretty much solves everything by using money. It's like kind of sarcastic.
The rest of them aren't shows. They're just like one episode things or
like one-offs
or music.
And then they did Neverland 2, which is like, but then after that, it's just like, what happened here? Because they did Neverland 2, which wasn't great, but then like, look at this lineup. Like, look at this line in 2021, Wonder Egg.
And the crazy thing about this is that this studio, for some reason, they go like, all right, we're gonna make like 6 episodes a year, or 6 seasons, 6 anime a year.
Yeah.
And there's we're gonna do 3 one season, then we're gonna skip this season, then we're gonna do 3 again. It's just
like I really
weird model.
These at the bottom I really like Horimiya, right? Wonder Egg, and then like I really like Shadow's House too. And so like
this was right when I was like, all right, yo, this studio's like slapping.
Yeah,
because I was watching Promised Neverland. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm enjoying this because it's like kind of bad and funny, but it's not good. It's like this is like just a show exploding before my eyes, and it's kind of funny.
I must get in on the laugh while I think it.
And then but I was also simultaneously watching Horimiya and Wonder Egg. I was like, yo, what is going on here? Like it's like this is crazy. And then Shadow's House came around.
The year 2021 definitely like redrew like my expectations for Cloverworks, and like not always in a good way, because like things like Neverland 2 flopped. The last episode of Wonder Egg is very very questionable, and definitely like showed like the cracks in the studio's production, and that like they're not always perfect.
Yep.
And like recognizing that is important when it comes to like talking about these studios, but like just their lineup for like this year is just like
it's insane.
So solid. It's so solid, and that's even like with things like Tokyo 24 like Ward like being okay.
It was alright.
Like it wasn't awful. I had fun with the show.
It's
but
like
then things like
my thing is right. Like if you look at like 2021, like you see, I have a few things marked here for my list. It's like, okay, cool. But like as you notice, in 2022, I have almost everything marked. Like
Bocchi the Rock hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, so. This hasn't come out. But everything else I'm either planning on watching or am currently watching. Like I've watched everything that they brought to the table, and that's because like in 2021 they really proved to me that like, okay, this studio can actually do some really really sick shit. And so like now, like pretty much anytime they put out something, I'm gonna at least try it.
And like to me, they also have like range too, because like they did Tokyo, Akebi, and Dress Up Darling simultaneously. Why? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
what
they
a
did. And one of them was an
crazy
original.
season, bro. What a crazy
one of them was
ass
an original.
season.
Yeah, so it's like, what's Dress Up Darling? It's like, ecchi rom-com. Akebi is just a pure slice of life. And like, the Tokyo 24th Ward is like this, it has like this really cool like artistic direction. And like that little mystery sci-fi thing going on. It's a little crazy. It kind of goes off the wall a little bit, but it's all right. Like whatever. But these are really different shows.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're definitely
with different art styles too.
They're not in like a just one single lane and have to conform to it over and over again. They definitely are out here doing a lot of different styles of things, and that's difficult. Like we've seen studios that kind of have their brand and they just kind of do that over and over again. It's 'cause that's what
like
people
Trigger.
like. Yeah, like they definitely just. And that's not even like speaking ill on them. It's just that like, once you find that as a studio, right, consistency matters a lot because then you get consistent, revenue source, consistent fan base. You're able to keep putting out things if you, appeal to those people. But to be able to go so many different directions and still put out things of quality is even more impressive. In my eyes, just because like it's just so not easy. It's so not easy to do it, especially when you're doing multiple shows a season. It's just like, bro,
And
how
like,
are you?
then they're doing Spy X Family and then In the Heart of Kunoichi. I don't know about that In the Heart Kunoichi thing. That's a little weird. But I'm not watching that
Are you
one.
watching it? Oh, okay.
No,
Okay,
I'm not watching it.
I'm watching it right now. And so like on the surface, right? Whenever we like first were looking at it in the sampler, I was like, this doesn't sound like it's gonna be that good because the premise. My problem was that the premise is like these are like young girls, and it has a like a plot based on like they can't see men. It's like curiosity about men and whatnot. And so like what I was worried about is that they would like sexualize these young characters, and like I'm not for that at all. And so I started watching it. And I'm like, okay, it's actually like decently funny, and they don't lean too far into that. There was an episode though. There was, I think it was the last episode that I saw, like episode 6, that was like unacceptable. I was like, this is not.
Yes.
I was like,
dude.
no, bro. And not they didn't do anything too crazy, but like it should not have been a thing. Like it was just a really lazy way to go about things, and I was like, okay, like that's not super great. And for that reason, I haven't watched the 2 latest episodes yet. But I was like, no, bro, like you can't, like don't do that. But Spy Family has been pretty good.
It's also
for sure.
wit too. It's not
Yeah,
just
it's also
color.
wit. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like collabs. Like what? And actually, wit is actually who I wanted to go to next. But like what a collab between these two
Good
studios.
segue.
Like bro, like it's
And Shadow's House second season hasn't
yeah,
happened yet, but I'm looking forward to
I'm
that. for
very
sure.
much looking
Super
forward to
excited
second
for it.
season of Shadow.
This
Because-
definitely like, because like my thoughts on like Shadow House season 1, like the main like gripes I have with it was like we didn't get everything, and like
Yes.
that's to be expected because there was a season 2 on the horizon. So like if this season like turns out to be solid, it'll definitely like improve my opinion on the first season as well.
Yeah, I feel
because
that.
like more holes will be filled in narratively, and we'll see what happens.
And
These
they're,
are,
and they're
again,
already
different
guaranteed doing
shows.
Spy Family season 2 as well. So like
Yeah.
they should be good. Like we shouldn't experience something like Cloverworks.
They're making
but-
money too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like I think a lot of the reason that Wonder Egg turned out the way it is because of like lack of resources and whatnot as well. And so like that shouldn't really happen with how popular Spy Family is, and they're already guaranteed to get part 2 as well. So
Dress Up Darling was popular too.
Yeah,
Not as
exactly.
popular as Spy Family. But,
that's true. But like they have they should be good for at least a decent amount of time. Like of course they're not seeing 100% because it is a wit collab as well. But like, bro, like this is the show that everyone is talking about this season, and that's so valuable to have. Like there's so many shows that release in a season, but everyone's talking about this one show that your studio is a part of, and that like matters a lot.
And the seasons stacked too.
I think it's important not to understate this like at all, because obviously you're talking really highly, but I really drive home like how impactful like Spy Family is right
Yeah.
now. Like there's so many people I know who like don't really like watch
Bilal?
that much anime that are he's one of them.
Yeah, like
there's
our,
so
one
many
of our
people
mutual
I
friends.
know who are just watching, who don't watch that much anime, and they're interested in watching Spy Family, like it's really like this is breaking like
Yeah.
into mainstream like
Mhm.
pretty impressively. Like this is like you could like I wouldn't be surprised if the profit is like split 2 ways between Wit and
Yeah.
Cloverworks, and they're still making like 3x like a normal like
yeah,
good show.
yeah, for
This
sure.
is like
For sure.
it's
It-
like
Yeah, good.
it's almost like Demon Slayer, like just like the amount
Yeah.
of breakthrough it's had with the
Yeah.
popularity.
At this
Yeah.
point, we're beyond like that. Like so, just so you guys really can contextualize, right? This show is not a matter of we're no longer talking about good shows versus bad shows. We're talking about shows that are just straight up culturally impactful, and that's what Spy Family is right now. It is defining an entire culture to a group of people who don't partake in that, and it's bridging the gap between diehard anime fans and people who have like not seen much at all, or maybe have not seen anything at all. And that impact is like so insane. Like, and there's only a handful of shows that we could say actually do this, right? Like there's not that many shows that you could say that do that, and especially not in genre. Most of the shows that bridge the gap between hardcore and mainstream are like battle shonens. Like a lot of them are the most
that's popular, what I was about to say,
right?
Like this show doesn't even really have like a defined genre, pretty much. Like what are you gonna call it? It's a comedy, I guess. Like, but it's like it's more than a comedy. It's way more than a comedy. Like, it's not just a funny show. And like you're just picking at every little thing that people might like and just kind of putting into one show, and it's successful. It also had crazy marketing. I think they just knew it's like, yo, this thing's gonna bang.
Oh yeah,
so,
I mean, like in Shonen Jump, like if you look at the sales for like the manga of like this series, it was absolutely insane. Because like the manga, the schedule is a little funky because it's quote unquote a Shonen Jump series, but it's actually like a Jump Plus series, so it's online and their schedule is kind of like on their own time. And it's just like insane, like, because I'm pretty sure like the person who made Spy X Family's manga, he was actually an assistant to like a guy who made Attack on Titan, and the guy who made Attack on Titan like read like the prototype for the series and is like, what have you been doing working for me this whole time?
That's what's up.
That's fucking sick, bro.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Like that's props in the highest degree. Like how much better can you get than that? That's fucking sick. But yeah, this show is...
the story behind some of the works that we talk about is like pretty insane, and like something that like I wish like more people were invested in, because like, you know, it's like the narrative like outside of just the show itself. The way that a lot of these things like come to fruition is just like so fascinating to me.
That's true.
From a just like creative and artistic standpoint. It's just like
a lot of things are way more complicated than people. Very rarely do things just play out like in a straightforward manner. It can be very roundabout in a lot of ways.
The part 2 to this show was also like announced before like part 1 even came out, so it's like they knew, like between like, all the marketing and all that stuff, like they knew what was gonna happen.
They're like, yeah, you're gonna love it. You're gonna, we know
it's on schedule, and like, you know, we're not gonna have many bumps in the road, if any, you know.
Yeah, that's a fact. So like they're partners in crime on Spy Family, Wit, and so like Wit is like pretty interesting to me, because, you know, obviously Titan is like how they really like got their start. Like I think it was literally
their first show.
Yeah, literally was their first show, and that is impressive. Just that on that alone, right? Like people can argue about, you know, how much they like or how much they dislike Titan, but Titan's another one of those shows that kind of like broke cultures, right? Like it breached into the mainstream. Like everyone knows about Attack on Titan at this point, like regardless of how much you've kept up with it. And so like, even though they were known for Titan at the beginning, right? I definitely like Titan is not my favorite show from them by any means. Like I don't even think it's close. Like I don't think it's even close. And it's so cool. Like the story of Wit is so cool to me, because they're a studio that, you know, started with one of the most popular series in anime history, and they gave it up. And once they gave it up, there was a super big shift, in my opinion, in a very positive direction for them, to the point where like now Wit is an auto watch for me. Like I will watch anything new comes out from them, I'll watch it. Like they're on my auto include, because they're just that impressive to me at this point. It's pretty crazy. Like they've done some stuff that is not overwhelmingly too great. Like I don't know if you guys saw like Awaria Seraph. Like I didn't watch it. And like Kabaneri, right out here. This is Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, right?
I heard that wasn't great.
It was a hit or miss show. Like I think one of the things to not understate about like Titan is that like culturally, like I was around for 2013, like for the weekly discourse and everything. And like when this show dropped, like this was like easily a contender for maybe being the best animated like show, like the peaks of Attack on Titan for 2013 standards
Mhm.
was maybe like the best like the industry had ever seen.
Yeah, no, I get.
You say that, I kind of immediately think like, especially with season 1, it kind of like I just kind of retroact like thought of this like right now, where it's like, oh, this is their first show, and you could tell that they kind of like they went all out for like the scenes that they felt they needed to go all out for, and then they definitely like took their foot off the pedal for like random moments, whereas like it's just kind of like nothing happening. It's like, oh, like, you know what?
Most popular all
my
time.
gosh, number 1 most popular.
Number
time.
1 most popular of all time. Like this show is like, say what you like about it, but like it is beyond. It's beyond
To
just
speak to
anime at this point.
To speak to the impact on this show, I was at a movie theater and I saw like a 45-year-old dude with a Survey Corps jacket. I was like, what the heck? This was like I was when I was watching Doctor Strange like last week or something. I was like, what the heck, dude? This guy is like undoubtedly middle aged. Like he's in his 40s. And it's just like, you guy watching Attack on Titan. Let's go.
Listen. If you were around going to cons around the time that Attack on Titan was like coming out, it was like ridiculous. Like people will talk about like Jeffrey, like when we went to that one con and every other person had like Tanjiro's like thing.
Yeah.
Like
Jesus
in Attack
fuck.
on Titan, they all wear the same thing. Do
Yeah.
you know how many people would
yeah.
get cons and it was just all green? Everywhere you go, it's just green.
It do be like that, bro.
I need to like bleach my fucking eyes, bro. It was just all green. I couldn't see any other color.
But like in Attack on Titan, like 2013, you go to a con, bro. Everyone has the Survey Corps thing on.
Mhm.
Everyone. It's like, oh, I'm Levi. It's like, oh, I'm Aaron. Oh, I'm Mikasa. Yeah. They all wear the same.
Yeah, they
fucking
all
thing.
wear the same outfit, bro. You could be anyone you want to be at that point.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation because like, you know, not trying to go too much on a tangent, just talking about Attack on Titan as opposed to like wit,
Yeah,
you know. But like one of the reasons why like we think that like Attack on Titan became like so popular when it was released is because like if you were like an anime fan like in that era, like there were only like a handful of things that you could probably talk about without getting strange looks, you know. Like things like the big 3 you could probably talk about and people wouldn't like try to shame you for it. But in the grand scheme of things, like anime was still like a very like weird medium, and it's very niche. But Attack on Titan is one of the things that really broke the mainstream because people could talk about it and spread popularity like through word of mouth, and people would just like know what it is. Like I felt when Attack on Titan was released in 2013. Oh my god, like. And you know, at that point, I was like still like getting into anime, still watching all like the Gatekeeper anime and stuff like. But man, like I think a lot of people like started like really enjoying talking about anime with Attack on Titan just because they could, you know, and not get like ridiculed for it.
That
Also,
matters
like,
a lot, actually. Like that matters a ton. Like even like we're seeing results of that even today, right? Like the only reason we're able to go live on Twitch and do anime podcasts like this is because there were shows along the way that made it like not necessarily cool, but it made it okay to like anime, right? Out in public, in front of everyone, and like. You know, we would love to think that the world is such a happy place that you can do whatever you want and not face scrutiny for it, but obviously that's not the way things work. And so like Titan definitely had a huge hand in making it the cool thing to do to watch anime, to the point to like now I think it's
the structure of the show being one where like there's a lot of questions that the show kind of leaves you with. Like, you know, for better or for worse, like, you know, it kind of just leaves you with like, it's like, oh, what are they going to do? And it's like a fun thing to speculate. So you speculate with your friends and all, you know?
Yep. And so like after Titan, right, they kind of took a different direction, and this is where I really started liking Wit. I will tell the story about Magus Bride OVA, right? This is we watched this at school in the auditorium after a local. I remember showing you guys. I think this might have been the very first thing I showed you guys, actually.
No, it definitely wasn't.
Was it not?
No,
Okay.
it was not.
What was
No,
the
actually,
first thing?
It might like if it was released in 2016, it's probably like around the time when we started doing this regularly. But like it was definitely
maybe.
like the order was definitely like ReZero, like Erase.
Oh
like,
right, yeah. Well, I didn't. Technically, I didn't show you guys ReZero. That was just kind of like we were all like,
yeah.
we're rained in. We can't go outside.
There's a bunch of people there. I think it was because like I don't know. Was that the first? That wasn't the first time you watched ReZero, was it, Khalil? I don't remember.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, because I think we were talking about it.
You two had already seen it, but Jeffrey, me, and Dylan have not.
Yeah.
Because there were more people
I wasn't
there,
like
too.
caught up at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. Either way.
I remember like watching Ancient Magus Bride OVA, and I was like, bro, if the show is like this, if it's like the OVA, it's like it's gonna be one of the GOATs. And I stand by that. This OVA is like better than the show itself. The show itself is like fine, but like the OVA was really impressive to me, and that had a lot of impact on me with like watching Wit stuff, because I was like, if they can do stuff like this, then I have really high hopes for how they can deliver down the line. And they kept doing Titan, and they always have that consistent revenue source. Like I said, they can always do the things that they need to do, because Titan will never
as
ever,
if it wasn't 4 years later.
But like I'm saying, like Titan comes out in 2013. They have so much money that they don't need to do shit for a long ass time. They don't have to do anything for a long time.
Reign of Seraph is fairly popular.
Oh, is it? Actually,
yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty popular, yeah.
But
uncomparable though,
Yeah, like Titan's so popular you could sit on that for a while. Yes, it was, years in between, but like they did Magus Bride, which was like, I liked it, but definitely could have been better. But then they started like leaning further into the Titan, and then the unspeakable happened, right? Who would have thought that they'd give up Titan? I would not have thought. Like it's kind of like inconceivable to think of, because like it's very hard, I think, for certain studios to get the privilege of like getting to adapt, the fan base's most beloved series, right? Like
it's like borderline irresponsible.
Yeah, it's like an automatic cash cow. It's like it's gonna be a payday, right? And so like I feel like there's a lot of studios that want to do shows as big as this, but they don't always get the opportunity. And so like for them to do Titan for so long and then just be like, yeah, no, I think we're done. I think we're done. We don't want to do this anymore. And they started doing other stuff. Was like really, like, it blew my mind. I was like, I remember when I first got the announcement that the new season was Mappa, I was like, why the fuck would Wit give up Titan? Like, that doesn't, like, even as someone who doesn't, like, I'm not a super diehard fan of the series by any means, it just seems like, but that's so much money and so much attention on your studio, like it just seems like irrational to give it up. But now looking back, right, in 2022, I'm really glad they did. Honestly, I'm glad they gave up Titan, because since then they've done so many things that I think are so impressive that I don't think they could have done if they held on to Titan as long as they did. So like people liked Vinland Saga. It's one of the most popular sign-ins as well. So obviously like people, like, they believe in this studio. Like for them to be given shows this big, like you gotta be the shit. Like you gotta be honest. Like you kind of gotta
so
be,
good.
Yeah, like
I love it.
You kind of gotta be, you gotta be the guy to be given
shows
like
nasty.
That. Yeah, you just gotta go a little bit crazy. You know what I'm saying? But then like the first thing that they put out after Titan was done, we always talk about this show, and man, yeah. I fucking love Vivi.
So much appreciation. Like this is like the point when like I thought to myself, like, man, like the day really came where like Attack on Titan was like a crutch for Wit. Yeah. And they just wanted to like get rid of that and like stand on their own 2 feet,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and like
if you watch Khalil Shame, you probably know about the show, but like this is like one of their like first originals that really like got, I wouldn't even say it got popular. I just like people like knew about it, but like amongst like us who like kind of like seek out like originals from reputable studios, like this was like so big for us. And I think it turned out extremely well. I really love this show. And I also like love showing it to other people, because it's one of those types of shows where it's a nice balance between, if you just want something that's like visually like engaging and very exciting for like the casual fan, you can watch that. But like it also has like, a pretty like layered narrative for like the main character, and if you're looking for something with like more like substance in that area, it definitely provides that too. So
and then they going along with it, I haven't watched the show yet, but I've heard a lot of people speak really well about.
People really love Ranking of Kings, and I understand why. To me, it's like not a perfect show, but like it definitely like solidifies like Wit as a studio that's like really trying to like break the mold with with their works, you know.
And it was more popular than like Vivi too. So it's like it's the studio's succeeding.
I think it's incredible that they went from VV2 ranking of Kings.
Yeah,
'cause,
that's
like,
crazy.
The visual direction and style is like so absurdly different.
Yeah, and like the craziest part about Wit is that, like, you know, Titan, I think one of the reasons that Titan is so popular is because of the visual fidelity. People love the animation in Titan, especially like during its climaxes. And so, like, even with these shows that they released after Titan was done, I think they're just as visually impressive, but in different ways. Like the hyper realism shots that they do in Vivi, and some of the high motion segments as well are like so impressive to me. But like for completely different reasons. Like they're not zooming in on Aaron's face and seeing all the pores on his face. Like they're not doing that in Titan, but they do it for like an AI based show, and I think it makes a ton of sense. And you know, more on top of that, right? We talk about Bubble that we watched recently, right? Regardless of the problems that the narrative have, it obviously has narrative problems. As far as like audio visual goes, bro, like it's ridiculous.
It is such a flex, bro.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying it's like pretty peak.
Yeah. No, I think it's like top 3 like audio visual spectacles I've ever seen. It's like, I cannot believe it. Like I was in awe the entire time, and that's why I had to watch it multiple times, because the first time I watched it, I was just completely blown back by just how good the show looked. I was like, bro, I've never seen someone do the things that they've done with camera angles in an anime before. That shit was crazy. I was like, what is going on?
Their use of the camera was nutty.
Yeah,
it's like
it's like they really. Who could have thought that Attack on Titan would be the weighted clothing? They're just like, you know what, man? Like, we're not really feeling this anymore. We're just gonna do our own thing. And like I said, I'm so glad that they're doing their own thing, because
they're doing so many different types of things. Like that OVA, the Girl from the Other Side thing. I saw the first one it did. It was like a 10-minute thing. It was pretty cool for a 10-minute thing. And that other one's like an hour. I don't think it's out yet, like in the US.
Oh, okay.
But it seems like it seems like it'll be pretty cool. That one, Totsuki no Shoujo.
We haven't watched this yet either.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
We still need to watch this.
Yeah, this is like a 5 episode. Oh, no, we need to do that sometime soon. But
they also just casually have like the Pokemon, like this like.
Oh
Pokemon
yeah, they have like Pokemon generations back here. It's like, it's just like why?
And then they have like the recent Pokemon that's like based on the Legends of Arceus thing that came out. I was like, how is this? Where'd you guys get this? That one, the one next to Vampire in the Garden.
Oh, this one?
That one?
Oh, this is Legends of Arceus? It is! Holy shit! I had no idea. Holy fuck. I actually didn't... bro, I am so used to Pokemon having Pokemon in the title that I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I don't know. Wow. I don't know how they got it, but they did. They're like mini episodes. I think they're like only like 10 minutes long. But it's like, hey, whatever.
Yeah, 6 minute short.
Oh, 6 minutes. There you go. Whatever.
Yeah, wow.
Dude, even like the short form things from Wit are just like so impressive. Just so you're gonna get something that's like, very like visually like impressive, and something that like really like highlights like their technical expertise that they've developed over the years. And that's kind of something I wanted to talk about, and I guess now is like as good a time as ever. But like when you start like getting like invested in like the story of some of these studios, you kind of like start to recognize like some of their like signature characteristics. And like, just by like watching a show, even if you like aren't aware of like the studio that made it, you can kind of like infer like this is probably like a Wit, like,
yeah,
and, like, to me like the calling card of like Wit is like the like how like tactile and fluid their action sequences are.
Yeah,
and it's and like that's such like a I guess like a strange thing to say, because of how much like people think that anime is just like these action sequences, and like there are so many of them in so many different shows, but the way that Wit does it is it's just like it's like almost unmistakable.
Yeah, no,
like, things like just like Vivi the show, things like Bubble, which like some could argue that that's probably like the peak of what they've done in terms of like action sequences, and I don't think anybody would like disagree with you if they've watched it.
Yeah.
But like just in talking about like other studios, like we talked about Trigger before, and how like I think that they're like defined by their dedication to like their bonkers as like narratives and like visual direction or studios like Shaft, which I see as like they're best defined by like their abstract art direction and like shot compositions. Like it's just always so intriguing. And of course, like, you know, my favorite, Kyoto Animation, which is defined by intricate and organic like character animation. Like nobody does it like them. And you know, being as, you know, familiar with the landscape of anime, you can kind of like expect these like signature things to shine through in these studios, and it just makes you appreciate them all the more. It's because like there's so much to talk about, and like this is like where like consistency like really comes in, because like there's so many inconsistent studios out there. We've talked about them, we've acknowledged them, and when you can like really like see what a studio like excels at, like you can like place like a seal of quality on them, and like that's rare. Like that doesn't happen like a lot.
That's definitely a fact. Yeah, and so like we talk about how they kick Titan to the curb. So let's talk about who picked them up then. Yeah, that's a natural progression.
Mappa.
And so Mappa, another one of those studios that was like at first.
It started in like 2010 or something.
2012 it looks like.
2012.
They had some.
This was like the era where they were like the helping out studio. I think that their first actual show where they were the lead producers was Terror and Resonance. That one. Yeah, this was their first one, I believe.
Didn't they work on Kids, which was in 2012?
Yeah, but I think the main studio on Kids was like Tezuka or something.
Tezuka. I don't think they were alone on that one.
Tezuka Pictures, I think.
Yeah.
Productions.
Yeah. So like Mappa, right? I think like whenever I was first starting to watch anime, I hadn't watched that many Mappa things. Like I didn't watch Terror and Resonance personally. I didn't start watching Mappa stuff until I think I watched Yuri on Ice. Might have been like my first might have been my first experience with them. And like so like I started in a place where the things that they were putting out were like pretty mid, I would say, just because like Kakegurui is like whatever to me.
Oh, that show sucks.
And like people were talking about Inuyashiki whenever it came out as well, and I wasn't super into that.
That show is crazy. That's about it. I won't say anything else particular about it. It's just crazy.
Okay.
Did you watch? Did any of you watch Dororo? That's something they did.
Yeah. So me and Bobby started that actually. We're still, it's still on my like part way through. I'm still like halfway done with Dororo.
You know, it's kind of sad. I also watched like half of it.
yeah. I haven't finished that.
You all finished the show.
I might. Yeah, we might have to.
It's like we started watching it together, and then it's like our schedules whatever.
Schedules went crazy.
And then it just got forgotten to the sands of time.
Yeah. It wasn't bad. Like I wasn't.
I actually think it fit like Khalil. Like I don't know. I think the show fits him. Pretty cool show.
Started.
What's that supposed to mean?
just the way you are. Just the type of shows you like. I don't know.
That's what's up, bro. That's what's up. Nice little sneak diss. I see you, bro. No, I'm just joking.
Banana Fish. I didn't watch Banana Fish.
I heard that's
so 2018.
I heard people like that.
I hear a lot of people talk about this show actually. Like I heard a lot of people say that they really like Banana Fish. I didn't watch it, but I did watch Zombieland.
Yeah. Dude, can we talk about how much of an anomaly like Zombieland Saga is within like Mappa's repertoire? Like it's such a strange
weird
show to think that it's a Mappa show.
Yeah, because like my thing, right? Whenever I think Mappa, I'm thinking like gritty, like really like earthy in terms of like color palettes and whatnot. And they come in with Zombieland Saga that is like, bro, this show is so like it's like another one of those shows that's just like really out there, right? Like
how did this happen? It's like original too. It's not even like they picked it up from anywhere.
Yeah, that's the craziest part. It's not like they were handed this and they were like, yeah, go crazy, bro.
They just made it.
Yeah, they were just like, we're gonna make a show about some zombie idols. And I remember when I first heard about it, bro. When I first heard about Zombieland Saga, I'm like, this might be the most ridiculous premise I've ever read about a show.
Because like you see that clip, you see the truck clip, and you're like, what? I guess I gotta watch this now.
Yeah. And then like surprisingly, it actually ended up being solid. Now I will say, the first season of Zombieland, we criticized pretty hard just because it is an idol show, and like some of the idol sequences and whatnot were like pretty low FPS on the CGI, so it's like very
Jesus
jarring.
Christ. Don't
Yeah.
remind me.
And so like the funny thing about it is that like some of it almost feels ironic.
It felt on purpose.
Yeah,
Oh,
it felt like they were being funny, because I remember in particular there was one sequence in the show where, you know, one of the sequences was happening, and then one of the characters are like, they look kind of weird when they move. Is this supposed to be like that? And I was like, bro, what kind of self-aware bullshit is this? I was like, what are they doing right now?
Yeah, it's so funny because like there are like some like of the music sequences, even just that first season, where like they like animated it. Obviously, like, you know, it wasn't like, you know, all like we could see all the movement happening. It was like cuts everywhere, but like it was still like, you know, animated, and it like looked really good. And it just goes to show like, oh yeah, we could like make it look okay when we want it to look good, you know. But for the most part, like, yeah, like it's pretty ironic how bad the CG is in that first season.
Yeah,
and I say that knowing that like they stepped it up in the second season.
They did. They really did. I can't commend them enough for because I remember when I wrote my review of season 1, I was like, if the CG was like spectacular in this show would be pretty great, like, honestly. Because everything else it's like really funny as a comedy. It does really good highlighting of its characters and making you care about you know, idol girls, which is hard to do because idol shows always have that problem of too many fucking characters, and so you don't ever have time to, like, you know, really build out the characters. But
Yamada is a better developed character than a lot of my character doesn't talk.
For real.
But so then they did some stuff in between. We talked about Dororo. Looks like they did some. I didn't know they did the Grand Blue. I didn't know they did.
That's
Grand
money.
Blue Fantasy.
That's easy
yeah,
money.
that is money. That is definitely money. But then they did, you know, Dorohedoro, which was like another. This show almost feels like it should have been like a Trigger show with how fucking batshit it was. But this was especially impressive to me because I was mad at Mappa for the CG of Zombieland, but then they put out Dorohedoro, and the CG was quite good the whole way through. It's like a half CG show pretty much. It's like somewhere in between. And like I was very impressed with how it looked. Even in like some of there's a lot of action that happens in the show, so like some of the high motion segments are pretty demanding, but I think they handled it pretty well. It was definitely a fucking this batshit crazy show the whole way through. And then they kept the revenue sources with Grand Blue. They keep doing that, and then they did to, like, more of the popular stuff. Yeah, so like God of High School was a show that I think a ton of people were talking about before its release. Is this a Korean show?
Yeah.
Webtoon show.
Webtoon.
So this was the part of the wave of Crunchyroll doing, you know, doing the manhwa stuff. And like I watched it and I was like, man, I'll pass, but y'all enjoy it. I was like, I gave it a fair shot, but I was just
you remember how you always like mess up like Classroom with the Read and Assassination Classroom? I messed this up with like Tower of God and God of
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Bro, no, like, those are even easier to mix up because both of those are like webtoon, like Korean.
Yeah,
like, dude, I'm even worse because I mixed up God of High School, Tower of God, and Classroom Elite. I was like, which one of these is which? I was like, it's just like the names, man. I was like, which one of these is which, man?
Oh God,
that's actually hilarious.
I guess God of High School and Classroom of the Elite are kind of actually the same title when you really think about it.
Yes, exactly. So I was like, which one of these is which, man? Like,
that is actually hilarious.
All right.
And then they did, you know,
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, so
Jujutsu Kaisen on Titan.
Mid.
So, see, the thing is, right? Regardless of whether you think it's mid or not, made them a lot of money, man. This series is so fucking popular. Like, it's one of the most popular shonen right now for sure.
It's Shonen Jump best-selling. Yeah, it's the best-selling Shonen Jump series right now.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's even more
actually
impressive.
the top.
Yeah, that's.
I actually think reading the manga, I think where the series goes in the future, I think it is actually really good. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
if you watch it, it definitely is like a rule of cool show. You know, just.
I think it does a lot more than that. I think it actually.
Like, this is like the starting point. You know?
My thing, right, is that like Jujutsu Kaisen to me, like it takes a lot. It takes a lot for me in particular to like sit down and like actually watch a shonen week to week. But Jujutsu Kaisen was one of the few that I was watching week to week, and it didn't feel like a chore. I was like, you know what? This is actually like a fine watch each week. So like, I already knew on that alone, it was one of the better ones, I think, because like, as someone who is not a super big fan of the genre, like I'll watch battle shonens and whatnot, but my problem is that there are so many things that are similar with them that it's hard for me to get invested whenever it's like super generic. So like I had that problem with Demon Slayer, right? Like I watched it all the way through, but it didn't do anything to me that like made me feel like, wow, this is like really spectacular. Aside from, you know, UFO Table, but I had already watched UFO Table stuff before, so I expected that from them, right? Like if I didn't watch Fate before going into Demon Slayer, I might have been wild. I might have been like, okay, that was pretty sick. But since I had already, you know, I had a sampling, I wasn't as impressed. But Jujutsu Kaisen, I think was a really cool watch.
Jujutsu Kaisen sold 65 million copies.
That's a lot of fucking copies.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of copies.
That's so much. And then you know they went from Jujutsu Kaisen, and then they went to another one of the most popular.
Bro, that's so unfair.
They go straight to fucking Titan. And they lied to us by saying it's the final season when it's definitely not the final season.
Oh yeah.
No, it's the final season part 1, dude.
Part 7, the movie.
It's final season part 1, but then after part 3, we're probably gonna get a movie or something. Who knows?
I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, bro. I'm just like, bro, why you lie to me, huh? Why you lie to me?
Attack on Titan, the final.
You get why they like, I guess, marketed it like this, because like there is like a very like distinct shift going from like season 3 part 2 to this one, just like narratively.
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole time skip and stuff in between there, right? Like,
yeah. I wouldn't mind calling it like season 4, season 5.
Yeah, I would not mind. Yeah, I would be less upset than telling me it's the final season and then it's not the final season. Don't fucking do that.
Season. It's 2 years later, brother.
On Titan final season part 3 extravaganza.
It really just be like that, bro.
You know, now that I'm really looking at like this key visual for the season, I'm actually realizing like
that was so long ago.
No. I'm just recognizing like what this is showing you. You know, like thematically, I'm just like, oh wow, wait, this is kind of different. Like what Jeffrey pointed out, like it really did change, didn't it?
It did change quite a lot.
You see Reiner and Aaron's position, like how they're there, and you're like, wait, that's kind of a flip. But
yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, that's there's some layers. Now, unfortunately, right, for me, you know, Titan, I think it's like so like I think Titan's the show that I think is really funny to make fun of people about. And what I mean by that is like I'm not trying to like bully people, but the funniest thing ever is like when I know something is gonna elicit a certain reaction. And I say it anyway, just because I know people will get mad about it. So like Titan's the show that like, if I'm like, man, this show is dog shit, I know I will get responses immediately. Like I know for a fact, someone will be like, bro, how the fuck did you say that about Attack on Titan? What the fuck, man? What you doing? Now listen, I actually think the show is pretty, like, it's pretty solid. It's like it's probably around like a 7 for me. But like, maybe a little lower, but either way, like it's obviously not a bad show or like a horrible show by any means. It's just like as time goes on, right, it just takes so long to get to the crux of the issue, which really bothered me, right? Like it's actually been so long, like even between season 1 and 2, it being what 3 or 4 years, and then like another season where it's just like politics, and then there's this season, and then season 3 we're talking about these other characters that are way more interesting than Eren, and now you want me to care about Eren again in the final season. It's like, all right, bro, like you kind of lost some of your luster as time goes on, but as far as like visuals in the studio itself behind it, like they've handled Titan very well, even though it was passed off.
Regardless of what you think about like Titan as a whole, or like the way that like Mappa's picked it up, you can't like say it like hurts the studio at all. Like it definitely like is more to like gives them like more recognition and credit. Like and like I remember like the conversation between like the differences between like how Wit chose to adapt it and how like Mappa is adapting it now, and like doing like side by side comparisons of like how they draw the characters and how like Mappa seems to be more faithful to like the dark aesthetic of the manga.
Yeah.
And like that to me is like really interesting, because whenever like studio or whenever like a series like gets a studio swap, you always are like, okay, like what is like going to change about this, or like are we going to like evolve? Are we going to like regress? Like there's a lot of like uncertainty going into it, but like Mappa definitely like picked up the pieces from which is like, you know, good, because like I don't think there's anybody who would like want a series like Attack on Titan to be bad because of how popular
of course
it is,
not.
you know?
Of course not. That's what they label people like us. They think we're like, you know, like, you guys are so elitist. You guys are so elitist. You guys just like to hate things that are popular. That's not true. I want every show to be godlike. That would be sick. Unfortunately, that's not the reality that we live in. It's just not like that. But like, I've never once been like, people really like the show, so I'm gonna actively hate it. Like that's just like, that's so silly. Why would you ever live your life that way? That's such a sad existence. But so they moved on from the final season. That wasn't the final season. They knocked it out of the park with Zombieland 2. I think this is pretty spectacular.
2021 was an interesting year for Mappa. Like,
and then Yas came, which was like,
they whiff. They hard whiff.
It was a miss.
I didn't even finish it.
A lot of people started it. A lot of people were talking about it.
Because it's
you look at the cast. So like, you look at the staff.
It's like, you look at the staff, you look at all that, you look at the fact that it's Mappa, like, great. And I was like, you know, there's no way. And also, you know, they actually casted some black people for it, and it was a really cool premise about a black samurai. I was like, this could be really sick. Unfortunately, it missed. You know, every studio still can miss, even though they're great, they can still fuck up. It'd be like that sometimes. But they moved on from it, and they ended up doing Remain, which was like pretty middle of the road, I would say.
I just think it was pretty bad point, because it really wasn't doing it for me, and also like Miguel. Like, I
feel that
the way like I described like my experience with like this show is that like the main cast like felt like background characters, you know. I really didn't get a good sense that like I was like watching like characters that the show kind of cares about. And to me, that I'm not really down to watch something like that, so I dropped it. So
I feel that. Pussy. Anyway, and then they did Tact, which like I don't think any of us really particularly like Tact that much.
That was an advertisement show, which pissed me off even more.
True.
Yeah, it's just the mobile game prequel.
That's facts. I didn't get to watch Jujutsu Kaisen 0 yet. Did you guys watch this?
I still haven't watched it. Bobby did.
Bobby watched it.
How was it?
I mean, like audio-visual, it was great. I think that like, I think it depends on your expectations, because this is a prequel.
Yeah. Like,
if you're expecting something that will like advance the plot of like the series, you're watching the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking for something like cool and enjoyable, and you like you want to know more about like the one senpai character they keep alluding to that like they don't actually show in the show, like he's the main character of this. That's cool. Nice. Like there's like cool flashback stuff. It's like a tertiary work. So I mean, if you like Jujutsu Kaisen, it's worth watching, but don't expect it to advance the plot of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Cool.
And they got Chainsaw Man coming.
Yeah, so this is a crazy, like, just this alone, like 2022, right? Chainsaw Man, another one of those shows that like I hear everyone talk about. Like,
they're making so much money this year. It's insane.
The studio's crazy.
People keep talking about this. I have no idea what it is or what it has to bring to the table, but I hope it turns out as good as people are expecting it to be.
It's a fucking ride.
Obviously,
they did this series nonstop without actually knowing anything about
crazy.
it.
And then they did, you know, final season part 2. Final season part 2. So obviously, like they're rolling in money on these two alone. But the real one to talk about, of course, is the one to the left. This is the one that people will gloss over. But this show is probably like before we even reach the end of the season, I think this is probably the best show this season. I would say.
To me, like it's not a contest, really.
Yeah, I think this is the best show this season, and that's impressive because if you are someone that watches week to week, you would know how strong this season is. This is a very strong season of anime, and for this show to be as good as it is, I think is really impressive. And you know, they're really rolling, right? Like this is a really strong 2022 because even on the stuff that isn't super great, like I didn't really like Kakegurui that much, but like there's a lot of people that do. A lot of people talk about Kakegurui because they watch it on Netflix. They're like, did you see Kakegurui? Like I really like that show. And they're like, okay.
On Musk had the profile picture.
Yeah.
Like 2022 like kind of shows like Mappa is trying to appeal to literally everybody. It's like, all right, Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, it's like these are like things like a lot of people like. Dance Dance for the people who like maybe want to like something more abstract, like something more like, you know, more deep into it, like whatever you want to call it. And Kakegurui for like the, you know, those For those, the people who like Kakegurui. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's the word. That's the word.
And from a studio perspective, right? What's really impressive is that, like, you know, when you do a show like Titan, there's like a certain style you have to adhere to, like in terms of like how gritty it is, and you know, it's a very graphic show, right? Like it's extremely graphic. One of the things that sticks out the most about it. But like Dance Dance, right, it is so different because like they have to deal with like completely different character proportions and a different set of motions, because it's like it's not just average everyday action sequences. It's like in a completely different way where like the choreography and intricacy of each frame actually matters quite a lot. Like it matters a ton.
It's really delicate,
or else you don't get that continuity and you don't get the feel for like a dancing segment, which is like super impressive that they can show this amount of care. Whereas like, you know, Titan is impressive visually, especially like in high motion segments, but like you can get away with a lot more stuff because of the grandiose. There's just so much shit happening at once that you can really get away with a lot of shit just because there's a lot of shit going on at once, and to some degree it's like sensory overload for the watcher, and they're so impressed by like the spectacle of it all that they might overlook some of the more like, you know, some of the more detailed segments. But I don't feel that way about Dance Dance at all. I think like it's
so intimate,
literally,
you know?
Yeah, it's so much attention to detail. It's like insane. And so like that range is super impressive to go from one to the other like that. And it looks like they're, and I don't know, is this another final season? Not the final season?
Final season part 3.
so like, you know, this studio will never have money problems ever. Like we know that they will.
Oh yeah, literally look at 2020.
Right, like they're like, set already. Like this is.
Man,
Titan, like yeah, you're good. Like you don't have to worry about anything. So
and like I just feel like they saw what Mugen Train did. I feel like it's like there's no way they're not gonna make a movie. Like how could you not? It's like, oh, look at how much money Mugen Train made.
Yeah, it's like so crazy, man. What a journey for Mappa, man. There's so many cool things that they've done, and like even though, you know, some people will define them as the Titan studio, I think they definitely are much more than that. But so like the last part, right, because we're in the last hour, we want to talk about the Gilded Studios. The studios that are like far and away, like these are the studios, right? Like these are those studios. We know exactly what we're talking about here. And so let's start with Bobby's feet. Why not? Let's start with Shaft, because Shaft is like
Shaft is crazy.
They are those.
They have
guys,
range,
bro.
They are
those
machines.
guys.
They actually have so much range. They have more range than like you would expect them to have.
Yeah, they have a lot of range.
OGs,
They've also been around for a long ass time.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the OGs, but they've refined themselves to a point. Like you'll notice a lot of the shows here are like not things you would expect from them nowadays. A lot of them are actually like simple, like school life, like slice of life stuff. Actually, I think it gets really. I think they really see like the starts of a change near Hidamari's sketch in Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, which is like the mid 2000s, I think. That's when Akiyuki Shimbo, like, around here, 2007.
Yep. Yeah, that fella.
Shimbo like really starts to show his like prominence through those shows, because I don't know, his style is so. If you want to be very technical about it, it's very French New Wave, but like from a more like easier way to explain, it's just he really likes crazy angles and shots, and he likes to keep the everything like without much motion per se. He keeps things very visually stimulating. Like things get like the colors like get crazy. The shot composition is like always very like dynamic. You know, the like angles are always like kind of like out there, and you know, and obviously once they make Bakemonogatari, I think it's when the studio really explodes.
They really found their stride, and it's like really impressive too, because like it's very easy for somebody to look at the things that like Shaft has put out like after like Bake and think that like they're just like throwing like things at a wall, and but like when you really like dive into like what makes like so many of their works like special, like there's a level of like sophistication to it that you just don't get anywhere else, and it takes like a trained eye to like really appreciate that stuff. And that's why, like, you know, if you're like a beginner in anime, it's really hard to recommend Shaft stuff. But you know, once you get to that certain point, this is why we hold Shaft in such high regards, because like they are like one of like the end goal studios, where like if you are able to love and appreciate Shaft shows, like you've made it, you know.
Yeah, so like Shaft, I think one of the thing that sticks out to me is that like once again, like Shaft is like a especially for me, like a my type of studio. Like I really do love Shaft stuff, because like that sense of like atmosphere and direction, I think, is something that they do very well, even if it's like outside of the normal confines of like what is a standard narrative. Most of their narratives are not anywhere close to standard. They're just out there. They really are okay with like doing stuff that no one has really touched on before, and kind of like, you know, going in uncharted territory. And so like so many of their you know, highest rated stuff is like game changers. Like the Monogatari series is a game changer for the medium. Madoka is a game changer for the medium. Like these shows are not small. Like these are not like small impact shows. They have huge, massive implications for, you know, just anime as a whole, not even just within the studio itself. And then like even some of their more modern stuff like Three Gatsu, fantastic, right? Even some of the stuff that people don't like as much, like Nisekoi, this is still very popular. This is a very popular show, even though, you know, we might not think it's super great, but people love this show. They fucking love it.
It's so easy to like see this as like a Shaft rom-com, just because it's so like so obvious.
Yeah, it's
like,
so
the
obvious.
the visual flair of Shaft, like, definitely shown through in that show.
Yeah, the manga and the anime of Nisekoi are the same story and yet somehow different experiences.
Yeah, that's impressive to me. Like that, I think that's pretty crazy to create an experience that is still, you know, it's obviously an adaptation, but you know, an experience that is separate from the source material that still makes it valuable to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, because some people think about like, you know, I'm not gonna watch the anime because I already have the manga. I don't gotta watch it because I already have. And I feel like with Nisekoi, you can't really do that because it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. It's like pretty nuts. Like even if you just look at their covers, right? Like none of the almost none of the stuff that you see on their cover images is simple. Like it's obviously very like deep layered, profound things that are like, okay, I don't know what the fuck is going on unless I watch all the stuff that leads up to that point. You know,
look
what
at
I mean?
dude,
like,
look at Kizu.
I mean,
like right.
I mean,
I'm saying like
Kizu's a prequel. You can start with that one if you want.
Yeah,
you can start with this.
What I'm saying is that like, right, there's so much depth, like, and that's what we were talking about, where like if we're recommending someone an anime, like very rarely will we recommend you Shaft starting out, because it's not simple. It's just not. It's very complicated studio, and I appreciate them for not pulling back on that, right? Because that's what I've come
look
to
at the
know
Owari like poster.
Yeah, like look at this. Like how the fuck do you know what's going on here? Like you wouldn't.
The shows are dense. There's so much like subtext and like context to like really like understand what's happening, but the build up, it always pays off. Like these shows are like complicated narratives, but they're always hitting. It's like it's so good.
It's so impressive. Like it, and the amount of subliminal messaging that they throw in, right? It feels like there's like when Shaft is doing a show, it feels like everything really does have a purpose, and that's something that I super appreciate. Like those little like, you know, subtle animations in the background while characters are having a dialogue sequence, like that is symbolism for something that's gonna happen down the line. Like that stuff is so common in the stuff that they do, and also like we were talking about before the go ahead.
I've rewatched like the Monogatari series like several times, and it's just like the show is so layered, you know, like there's so many instances like when I know someone else is watching the Monogatari series and like they're questioning something, they're like, what's going on here? Like this doesn't make any sense. I gotta whip out the textbook, I bring out the chalkboard and eraser, and I'm like, brother, this is what's going on. And they're like, this show's godlike.
Yeah, like Shaft is definitely like a studio that like really maximizes like the use of the medium in a way that no other studio has been able to like replicate. And like something I kind of want to like touch upon, because well, we mentioned it earlier, but like, you know, a lot of people can like attribute like Shaft's kind of identity that they've built up over the years like to Akiyuki Shimbo, and like that's fine. And also like touches upon like how like most anime studios don't have like permanent employees.
Yeah.
Most creators, whether it's like directors, like storyboarders, animators, like it's mostly freelance work in the anime industry, and you can just kind of go wherever like the wind takes you.
Yep.
But like the influence that like Shimbo has like had on Shaft is definitely like more to his credit, but also like how much like creators can inspire each other and really work together to like build an identity collectively, because obviously like Shimbo like does not make these things by himself. He has like a whole team of animators and storyboarders and just all sorts of like creative minds to help these things come to fruition. And I think like that type of like story of a studio is definitely like an anomaly where like you said, like early on, like in the 90s, like they didn't really like build out their identity, but like come along like the mid 2000s, like and it really starts to show. And that's a story that's like it's such a fascinating story to me, you know.
I remember.
Oh god.
Oh yeah, they do this promotional.
That shit is so
crossover
funny,
stuff
bro.
all the
That
time.
shit is so funny.
They do this all the time, dude.
Oh my
They
gosh.
have like a figure line of Madoka characters wearing Monogatari character clothing, and like the Monogatari characters wearing Madoka clothing.
That sounds fire.
Yeah,
Oh.
they have like a Senjo Gahara in Madoka's like magical girl outfit. It's sick.
Speaking of Madoka, you know they just did like a fucking swimsuit merch line. Did you
Oh
see
my
that?
god, what?
They just came out with that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I literally saw it on my timeline yesterday. They're doing like, it's the Madoka girls, but they're like in summer clothing. I was like, what is happening?
Every summer.
They
they do
definitely
a-
know how to merchandise.
Yeah, that's facts. Like, I do shit like this too, but
Oh yeah.
They're picking up Ruby too.
Yeah.
it is. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be.
We were talking about this because
Oh yeah.
I say we, but I'm not actually sure how many of us like are
It's
caught
just you
up
and
with
Ruby.
Ruby.
I think
Is
it's
this
just you.
starting at the beginning of Ruby, or is this like a
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think
it's
we
gonna
know
go
yet.
back.
I don't think
back
we
to
know
the. No, it's going all the way back to the beginning.
all the way back?
Yeah,
Okay, let
it
me add
seems
this
like,
right now.
It
Then.
seems like they're. It seems like they're not remaking it though. It seems like they're going down some alternate timeline. So
Okay.
it's it might be interesting. We'll see.
So I
Gendo
think that
Robushi's
matters
apparently
a-
involved.
Yeah, that matters a lot for people because like I know people say that they like Ruby, but they're kind of put off by the way like the 3D animation and stuff works. And this is my goat right here. This guy. This guy.
Dude.
I don't think he's doing the script or anything. I think he's just like doing the scenario.
It looks
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, the concept is his. He's doing the
He's helping
concept.
out.
Yeah.
He's gonna leave a
still-
mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
I-
OD. Love this guy. I don't know why
Yeah,
he wasn't
like,
my favorite.
And
guy.
favorites.
I don't know how he wasn't my favorites. He's.
I remember we were talking about this like when this like the announcement dropped, but like
Mhm.
it was interesting because like we were saying like, oh, if Ruby was to like be adapted by like any like anime studio that we're familiar with, like did we really think that Shaft was going to be like the first one? And we thought no, because like you know Ruby is like kind of like known for like how it does like 3D animation and like choreography and those aspects, and like to me like I thought that like Ruby would make a really nice like Wit series, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
Like to me that was like the go-to, and I think we had like a whole conversation about it. I don't even know like what you guys said you would
I
expect
can't
Ruby
remember.
to
It's
be
been a
adapted
while.
by.
I think.
I
But,
disagree.
In my
Disagree.
mind, I would have thought like a Mappa show, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can kind of see that too, honestly. And like, you know, I feel like Shaft also gives me this feeling of it never being over, if that makes sense. Yeah, you guys know what I mean? Like, it feels like
Yeah.
the series that I'm really like invested in. It almost feels like there's always more to it, and they can
Out of
always
nowhere,
go,
we got a
right.
Madoka part
That's
4.
what I'm saying. Like, you got to understand that like Rebellion came out a long ass time ago. What was it 20?
Yeah, dude. It's
2013.
Yeah, 2013, and then like you know last year they were like, yeah, let's continue the story. I'm like, what the fuck? And then while we were waiting on that, you know, they did the side stories in between. And so like it just feels like, you know, if you really love these series, like they just are kind of willing to to give us more, which is really cool.
I could definitely go for some more Pretty Boy Detective Club.
Yeah,
or,
a follow up to this would be dope.
Please, Shaft.
Yeah, and like March comes in like a line, like that's a long series that got a follow up, right? It's a very long series, so like they definitely are willing to put out the content, for the people that really enjoy it, and I think that like it's definitely. It's like I said, it's very complicated, but like I think once you reach a certain level, or once you reach a certain point in your anime appreciation, like you really come to appreciate what Shaft has put out and what they continue to do.
It probably has something to do with like their culture being really good, like because Urabochi has like explicitly said that like he felt like he probably wouldn't have been able to make Monogatari. I mean, not Madoka if it wasn't for like being with Shaft and like just
bro. Gen fucking just goes on vacation, bro. He just says, "Fuck it, I'm not." He makes enough money to where he can just fuck off for X amount of time and then come back and be like, "All right, bro, let's do some shit."
Dude, like the trio of like Gen Urabuchi works like was so blessed that like he got good studios behind him because like like Monica got Shaft, like Fate Zero got Ufotable, and like Psycho-Pass got like IG. Like that's like a blessed trio of studios to get your work adapted.
That's why he's the GOAT, bro. That's what I'm saying. He's the GOAT.
I think one of the things about Shaft too that's really really cool is like crunch time is like a huge problem in the anime industry. And like there's so many times where studios will be putting out subpar products because they can't meet deadlines or like the workers are burnt out and everything's like. But Shaft has actually had several instances where like they are okay with just kind of delaying like parts of their show to like make it as high quality as possible. Like the release schedule for a lot of the Monogatari series is really strange. Like Monogatari second season is only 21 episodes, which is kind of a weird number. But the reason that is because the final arc that was supposed to be a part of it, Hana Monogatari, which is also known as Monogatari second season like part plus alpha or whatever like what they did was what they did was they were like, all right, we want to go hard on this one. We want to go hard. We're gonna release this like online like when we're done. So that's what they did. They were like, all right, we're releasing, like we're not messing this up. I
respect that for sure.
I respect it so much. Like it's a little weird for people who are watching because you can't just always like watch everything weekly. They have like weird ways they release things, but they always are prioritizing the quality of their work, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's so important in an industry like this. And like the last thing with Shaft is that like a lot of people talk about like these studios that do like their action sequences and high motion sequences very well. We've seen what Shaft can do with a budget before. We've seen what's come out of them. The scene in Rebellion, it was one of the Homura fights, still is like burned into my mind with how much they flexed.
Homura versus Monmi.
Yeah, it's like, bro, they really were just like, y'all didn't think we could do this type of shit, did you? And it just like, it was like a super extended like action sequence that was like some of the most impressive animation I've seen. It's like they definitely can flex in that regard too, if they have to. They don't feel like they always have to bring that out. They just sometimes they just are like, we'll just give you consistent quality. We'll give you great character designs. We'll give you, very, very, in-depth narratives and whatnot. And we established ourselves as one of the gold standards of animation studios because they definitely are in my mind. They're
undoubtedly
kind of OD, bro. They're kind of OD. But the next one, next one.
On the docket.
Listen, bro. I want to talk about this real quick because.
All right.
I want to talk about this, right? Now, because Ghibli's different, right? It's different. Are. It's different in the sense that they're not putting out like shows. They're not really doing that at all. They're primarily focused on film, but the thing is like they've done some of the most impactful films in the medium, if not the most impactful films in the medium, and like multiple. It's not even just like we did this one that was really really good and then we stopped, right? There's so many films in Ghibli's catalog that are like standout that it's like really really impressive to me, and especially right on top of that, they also have good casting for like their dubs and whatnot. And so there's a lot of people that are able to watch Ghibli movies as like their first experiences with the medium. And that I think is very important when we're talking about, you know, impact. Once again, like, you know, Spirited Away, like, so many people have seen Spirited Away. Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, like these movies are like so important to how the medium functions that I can't in good faith not put them up there with the gilded studios just on that virtue, because man, like Miyazaki's on some shit, and he always has been, and he probably, I don't know what's wrong with that guy, but he just be out here like, and this studio, like, and honestly, like, even if you go back and you watch, you would think that, you know, it would be subject to some level of nostalgia goggles. Well, just because, like, you know, when it comes to old series that are held very highly by people, that's just kind of way things go. But like, even I've gone back and watched some of the older Ghibli movies, not older, but like, you know, some of the stuff from like the 90s and the 2000s, and like, no, it's actually just really good. Like, it's actually just it holds up. Like, they age pretty well, all things considered, at least on the, you know, a technical aspect.
Yeah, I actually rewatched Spirited Away pretty recently because our friend is going through like the Ghibli library because it's on like HBO Max.
Oh yeah.
And like I can definitely like say that like these movies like are a high standard that are still like not met today. Like, honestly, this is like a studio that like cuts like no corners in their production, and it's just like so like refreshing like nowadays to see that like something like this like it's like existed back then, because like, you know, Ghibli's like very like old school with their animation. Like, they don't like they like legit like don't know how to cut corners.
They're just like, we only know how to do it one way.
It never comes up like, oh man, we have to like cut this, or we have to like water this down. They're just like, no, we can't do that. But yeah, like Ghibli, like for me, Ghibli holds like a special place in my heart, because like you can say that like the first like anime that I ever like watched like after like, you know, things like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh was the Ghibli films. Like I was literally like probably in like I was probably like 9 when I like watched my first Ghibli film, and like I rented them from my local library on DVD. You know, it seems really archaic right now, because considering how like easy it is to like obtain anime nowadays comparatively. And like, yeah, like going back to these movies, like I could say like these are like some like the most like accessible things like out there. Like the English dub you mentioned, like they're always like really like top notch, and like that's and part of that goes into how, because like the localization process was like partnered with like Pixar, and Pixar is like a studio that like has a similar like level of like passion and dedication for animation as like a craft that they want to faithfully like bring to the people over here in like the West, you know. The problem with like most English dubs nowadays is that usually English like dubbing, like whoever like takes care of that like licensing, usually just goes for like big names to get like eyes on the dub, and usually it doesn't work out because they don't fit the characters. They just want like big names to voice the characters, where you know the process of like selecting Seiyu in Japan is very like intimate, for lack of a better word, because like creators like have a certain voice in their head sometimes that they want their character to sound like, and they either like pick a Seiyu outright, or they go through like a very like layered like audition process to find the right find the right voice. And to me, like so many like characters in anime, like in Japanese dubs, like have it's like what the character like sounds like to me, and how I like how the character like is shaped in like my mind, and like it's really powerful. And like English dubs generally don't have that type of impact.
That's exactly that, bro. Like that's why whenever people have those long arguments about dub versus sub, this is the one point that I always make about you know, the creator's direction in mind. Like whenever they're thinking who would best play this character, like that is lost in translation, like quite literally. It's not even a pun. It's literally lost in translation.
I remember like, because like I said, I rented Ghibli DVDs from the library, and I also like watched like little bonus like documentary segments that were included with them. And like John Lasseter, like one of like the figureheads at like Pixar, like set like kind of described like the audition process for something like Spirited Away, because like Chihiro is voiced by the same voice actor who voiced Lilo from Lilo and Stitch, like the Disney franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And like to me, like just hearing him talk about that, like it was almost like a perfect fit, like for the character.
Yeah.
Just like on a thinking about it beyond like, oh, this person is known, let's get them to voice this character type.
Yeah, what crazy ass, like I said, I wanted to bring in Ghibli just because it's so different from the other studios that we're talking about, because they exist in a format that is pretty secluded, as opposed, like, instead of putting out, you know, TV shows every season or whatever, they're just fine doing their movie stuff.
I mean, it's like, to the point where it's like there are some anime fans who are like trying to gatekeep people who are like trying to treat Ghibli as like real anime, quote unquote. And I'm like, that's ridiculous, man.
That's insane.
Like,
yeah,
I know, like that, but like just to attest to like how kind of, you know, they're like, obviously Ghibli is anime, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it's kind of true that they're like a little bit like detached from like the general like anime space, you know?
I agree.
Like they're not a part of the seasonal discussions. They're not making like long running shonen, you know? They're doing their own thing, and they're so good at it that they've like broken the mainstream multiple times regardless. Like without those things.
The amount of people who I've like heard like question like, is it like worth it to like go back and experience like the Ghibli films, because like, you know, they're really old. Like,
he's talking about me.
One of these days we'll go through the Ghibli library together. But like,
I've only seen one Ghibli film.
Like, if anybody asked me if it was like worth it, I would. It's like 100% yes for me,
without hesitation. Howl's Moving Castle is one of the reasons I'm even in the anime. Like, it is that impactful. Like, I think definitely my first anime film, and I watched it really early into like when I started watching like when I was watching like Naruto week to week. I was in Japanese class in high school, and they showed us Howl's Moving Castle. And I was like, holy shit, bro.
That's me.
I was like, holy shit, that is pretty nuts.
Yeah, there's a handful of Ghibli films that like still like, you know, resonate with me like nowadays. Like my favorite film from them is Whisper of the Heart, which is like one of like their lesser known works because it's not directed by Miyazaki. But that film like came to me at an important part in my life where I was like really in like this creative like rut, I suppose, and I didn't really know a way forward, and that film really came to me at the right time. So it holds a special place in my heart for that reason. And also like The Secret World of Arrietty, which is another one.
Yeah, I have a DVD for that, bro. I love that movie.
Yeah, that film is special to me because that's actually the first anime film I saw in theaters.
Oh yeah.
Way back when.
First one's always special.
Yeah, I remember watching it with my sister, and like we were like just like so taken in with like the cinematic experience that an anime film could you know provide, and you know we haven't looked back from then. Yeah,
true. All right, next, gotta talk about these guys. Gotta talk about these guys.
It's crazy how they can just consistently pump out crazy animation, dude.
Yeah, I just don't like what I don't know the origins of UFO Table, but like, were they founded by someone that was just super rich? Because like, man, like sometimes I look at even some of the stuff that they did early on, and I was like, how the fuck did you guys pull this off? Like, this is insane. Like, yeah, like especially in some of the times that some of these works exist in, it's just like I just can't believe that even to this day, from back then, they're just consistently putting out stuff that is just stunning every single time. Like it's so crazy.
They really care. They seem to just never really do like these like kind of throwaway projects. Like if you take a look at them, like every year they really only do like a couple of projects at most, and a lot of the times it's like it's like
definitely like a quality over quantity approach.
Like a quality over quantity type deal.
Yeah, it's bro. I cannot like think about how much time and effort it takes to do some of the things that they do in their shows. Like, and it's like, to me, they're really like the no cut corner studio. Like Ghibli definitely is too. But like, bro, like every aspect, like the opening, the ending, the in between shots, the visual flair, the special effects, the particle effect, like all of that is always like
put so much time into it, and they never are like, we're gonna dial it back a little bit this time. They always just like, nah, bro, if we're gonna do this shit, we're gonna crank things all the way up every single time. And like, for that reason, it's just like, I can't see them not doing something amazing, like almost every time I watch it. Like,
an impressive thing with them is that I feel like they're constantly like one-upping, right? So like we talked about like Bubble before, right?
Yeah.
And like Bubble was really, really good aesthetically, obviously.
Mhm.
And I feel like it kind of played its hand where it was like, all right, this is godlike, this is amazing, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And then like you get to the end of the film, and it's kind of like okay, this is still amazing.
Yep.
But the UFO table stuff, it's like throughout the entire film, it's going nuts. It's going nuts. And then it goes to the climactic moment where it just completely blows out everything before out of the water. It's just like, you guys do not blow your load like early on. It's just like,
it does not end, bro. It doesn't end.
It truly never ends because
it's like,
there's like
when you're watching Heaven's Feel, it's just like you have like 5-6 times in the movie where your mind's just blown. But the last time, your mind is way more blown than anything before.
I think what's always like the most impressive thing is that not just that they're always pushing the envelope, but they're pushing the envelope in weekly anime series.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing like because there's so many studios where they put out an episode and it's like, okay, that one episode is like they'll put out like the first episode and then over time, like the animation is usually not going to hit the same peaks as that first episode until like maybe the climax. But in like UFO table shows, like they're pumping out this quality weekly, bro. It's crazy.
Every single week. Like the best stuff usually comes towards the tail end of like the show, when you typically expect shows to like have just blown the budget by that point.
Unlimited budget works. No, like the best example of that, right, is Demon Slayer. It's a great example because like, you know, people talked about Demon Slayer the entire time, of course, not only because it's a popular manga, but because you know, UFO Table just has stunning visuals. But like, I feel like as the season continued to go on, more and more people were posting, you know, recaps of some of the crazy animation moments, like the spider fight. I've seen that shit posted so many times.
Episode 19.
Shit, yeah, like that I've seen that fucking shit reposted so many times at this point, and it's like, you know, that's episode 19 of a 26 episode series. That's pretty late in. Like that's by that point, most shows will have gone through like, you know, their biggest spectacles at that point, but they still like definitely strive to bring more and more to the table. And like, it's like one of those studios that, bro, if you give them a movie budget, nah, bro, it's over. It's over, bro.
One thing I actually really appreciate about them that I guess they don't do now, just because like they have like studio size, is that they used to take breaks. Like they would split seasons. And so like for Fate Zero, it's like they did season 1 in 2011. I think like like fall, and then they took a season off, and they waited until spring 2012 to finish it off.
Yeah, and that's like what we talked about before, where like it takes a certain level of like care and dedication for you to recognize that if we want to do this, we're gonna need time, right? If we want to do this the right way, we're gonna need time. And for them to recognize that and actually take the time that they need to put out, you know, the best possible work that they can, is like that is when you know a studio's in a good place. Like that's when they have the luxury and they also execute on that ideal, because we've seen people rush out things and make them mediocre before. So I'm really glad that hasn't been the case for them.
They really like treat their works like art instead of like a commodity that needs to be pushed out, you know, for consumer reasons.
Another thing, like with them, it's like, so, you know, a lot of it comes down like, oh, their fights are crazy, even though it's everything really. It's not just the fights.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
So you know how a lot of times when you're watching these shonen fights, it's like, I guess I like it's you have like people develop into like their 2 separate 1v1s, or their 1v3s and then their 1v3s like somewhere else. Yeah. Depending on how it works. When it came to like the upper 6 fights with in Demon Slayer season 2 with Gyotaro and Daki, it's like we had a full. What's up? Oh, yeah, my bad. I heard like my bad. I heard like something in the background. I was like, wait, what's that?
No, you're fine, bro. You're
fine. All right. Whatever. So like, it's like you have like your separate fights. Like, one part of the group is fighting Daki, and the other part is fighting Gyotaro. But like, it feels like they're all in the same setting because they obviously are. But a lot of times, like anime sections these 2 fights off in a way where it doesn't feel like one big thing. So like it's like what the 1v1 happening on this side will affect the 1v3 happening on the other side, and it's just kind of like it feels like a fluid motion, like with the direction. I don't know. It's
just
cool
just
shit.
to like even further go on that point, like just to explain, because I think we've all seen those anime moments where it's like there's a crowd of guys circling one person, and for some reason those guys are coming at him one at a time. And it's like, why are they not all charging? It's not like Demon Slayer will have all the people moving like in like very unique, complex ways simultaneously.
Yeah, and like they'll affect each other, even though like they might be participating in a separate fight. It's like the actions in that one fight will still affect things because like I don't know, debris flying around, whatever you want to call it too. Like,
yeah, it matters a lot because like the more things you have in motion at once, it gets exponentially more difficult to animate in terms of like consistency and whatnot, right? Because suddenly you have 5 different moving parts, and if where they end up does not make sense from where they started and how they were moving, then the continuity is ruined in that regard. So like it's definitely really impressive that they're able to do that type of like super grandiose scene without sacrificing. Like they just, I don't know, man. They're just goated, man. It's not really much you could say. They're just one of the goated studios for sure.
They just do their thing.
Ufotable is so crazy to think about because like we always say that like we weren't like wowed by Demon Slayer, and that's just because like we've seen like Ufotable's like past and like production history over the years, and like that just goes to show like how ahead of the game they were back then. In order to like establish the standard now to where like Demon Slayer is like their middle ground.
Quote unquote middle.
Yeah.
It just be like that.
They're so good. It's like you can't even watch their stuff over like a Discord call. It will lag out. It absolutely.
I know what you mean.
10-bit like torrent quality, bro.
Yeah. When we were watching Heaven's Feel 3. At the last fight in the climax, the Discord just started exploding for us.
I just can't handle it.
Literally could not handle it.
Meant for streaming.
It was like 5 frames a second, and you could see like every single frame that it was cut to. Like there's like so much detail going on in it. Like it's crazy.
Like we're watching the storyboard version.
Yeah, no, you're better off doing 3, 2, 1. Everyone start at the same time.
That's definitely a fact. Okay, I think we can finally do KyoAni.
Yo,
sure. Yes, my goats. Kyoto Animation.
And like, man,
this just like before we get into it, you can favorite studios on AniList.
Yeah, you can.
If you go up to the top, you can see how many favorites it has.
Yep.
I think there's no way to like see the metric of who is like number 1.
Who has number 1? Yeah.
I've gone to like all like the reputable studios that I know of. I think KyoAni is the highest. I haven't seen anything else break 16K.
Have you? I'm trying to think. Maybe like
I say just check Madhouse Mappa and then like Ghibli. And then Madhouse Mappa Ghibli. If it's not one of those, it probably is nobody.
I was thinking maybe Toei because they do some of the
Ufotable too, probably.
Oh, Ufotable, yeah. 12K.
Madhouse has 12. I think it's important to like think about like what that means though, because it's not even just because what kind of person do you have to be to go on AniList? Favorite a studio, like what is that? Like
nobody likes Toei.
You have to be like not just an anime watcher. You have to be like dedicated to the medium in some sort to even know that your favorite shows are made by a studio, let alone recognize that this studio is consistently putting out works that you're always in love with or appreciating. Like it's just kind of a testament, like that kind of metric to show like how like incredibly like not just consistent but like touching like a lot of these KyoAni shows are to people.
It's and like there's just there's just so much.
I do think that KyoAni stands at the top of this metric, just like looking at all of the studios that we've talked about now. And like, I'm definitely one of those people. KyoAni is my favorite studio of all time. And that's for like a multitude of different reasons. But just like starting from, the very beginning, like they had very humble beginnings. They were like the help out studio on things like Inuyasha. And they didn't really like come into like their own production until things like Munto and the key visual novel adaptations. So like Air, Ken, and Clannad.
Yep.
But what really pushed them to like the forefront and what got people eyes on them was like the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Bro, Lucky
like,
Star is so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haruhi is
2006.
yeah
2006. That's the
yeah.
2009 version. Whoops.
That's what's up.
But yeah, like this, like just from that point, like they like defined like what moe like should look like. Like it was like an artistic like milestone with what they did with this, and like so many studios like tried to copy them. Like after that, a lot of them failed just because like it takes more than just like Control C, Control V in order to like make what KyoAni has made over the years. And man, like so many of their works have like impacted me, not only like as an anime fan, but as like a human being. And I think that there's like something really like special to be said about that, because a lot of people think that like anime is like purely like entertainment. Like it's you talk about it, you have fun like with the discourse, but it's so rare that like you get to talk about how much like a show has like changed you and like made you like a better person. And like KyoAni has really made almost all of their shows like under that philosophy, where like we want to like touch, like if we like change like one viewer's life, then we've like accomplished our goal, even though that they definitely like touch more of their fans than just one, and like something like that like can't not be my favorite studio. Like it just goes like they're like a testament to like how powerful this medium is, beyond just like talking about the technical aspects of it, even though that the technical aspects that like KyoAni has refined over the years
do be flexing sometimes.
Yeah, no, they do.
Impressive.
No, we're gonna talk about that too. But like, here's the thing: is that like as someone that obviously cares very much about the medium. I mean, obviously we're sitting here doing a podcast about it, so that already takes a certain amount of care, right? For us to care enough about this to we want to share our ideas with people. KyoAni is like the studio that I feel cares as much as I do, if not more, right? And that's impressive given just how much that we watch and how much that we care and how much that we talk and how much that we support. And for there to be a studio that I feel is like we're on the same page, right? We're on the same page with, you really care a lot about this, I really care about this, and for that reason, they're able to put out some of the most impressive works out there for sure. Like they kind of define the cute girls doing cute things genre as a whole, right? Like that's like them. That's I can't think of any other studio that embodies that more than KyoAni. They're like kind of like it's like you look at K-On! Or Lucky Star, like there's so many shows that they've done that it boils down to cute girls doing cute things. and for that reason, there are so many studios that have taken inspiration from them and tried to create something of their own from that mold. And that's more that impact that we're talking about. It's like you can make a great show and that's fine and dandy, but are people still going to reference it and they're going to talk about it years after? And almost every impactful KyoAni work, that is the case. People are still talking about them to this day, despite them being a decade old or 15 years old. It doesn't matter.
It's really like a testament to like how much soul gets put into these works, where it's not just like a hollow husk of just cute girls doing cute things, because people like that type of thing will just like fade into obscurity after like a year.
Yeah, with saturation is just such a, like, especially nowadays, like saturation is such a thing that like unless you're doing something with extreme amounts of care intact, like you will get drowned out. Like there's just so many things, it's hard not to. Like there's just so many shows nowadays,
especially the way anime nowadays is, where like there's so many shows to pick from in any given season that like if you don't like leave like a certain mark, or you put in like just minimal effort into your shows, you're not gonna stay above the water,
Yeah, no, and like part of the reason that they're able to put so much care into it is like this is part that a lot of people won't know. It's kind of the work environment with KyoAni, right?
Yes.
They're really revolutionary when it comes to giving animators a place that they can actually work in good conditions. They actually have vacation time. They're not overworking them. They're actually letting them take their time and think out their ideals when they're working on projects.
Yeah.
And this is to me, this studio is a direct result of that. They're doing something that almost no one else is doing in that regard. Like and it's like so crazy. Like there's so much demand in the anime industry nowadays, and we've seen the negative results of it. But KyoAni has kind of been that rock that is always kind of pushing and being progressive for you know, the rights of the animators and the rights of the staff, and treating people as human beings. It turns out there's human beings that make these things that we like so much. Go figure.
And they all deserve like the recognition for like their contributions to these works.
Yeah,
like, you know,
for sure.
Like for those of you like who don't know, we've talked about this a few times on the cast, but like there's like a very like dark underbelly to like the anime industry where most studios overwork their animators and like their storyboarders and all of their like creative talent. They just like get like no breaks, and like this is where like the crunch culture really like starts to like affect certain studios and their works. But like KyoAni is like a beacon of like positivity and like healthy work environment, and like there's so much that goes into it because like they are one of the only studios that like retain like permanent employees, as we talked about earlier with like Shaft. Shaft, but like KyoAni like has a very like in-depth like training process for like animators. Like it's really like a culture where like the best working at the studio at any given time really inspire the others to hone their craft in new ways. And like just like one example is like if there's like any director that like KyoAni is like known for, is like Tatsuya Ishihara. He is like the veteran director at KyoAni. He's probably produced like at least like 70% of everything that KyoAni has like put out over the years.
One of the goats.
Yeah, definitely one of my goats for sure. But like he has like trained so many of like the greatest like creative minds in that come out of Kyoto Animation, and like he's not even stopping. Like he's still like working nowadays. Like he just like he picked up the reins on like the latest like Dragon Maid series. Like he's always like in like the special thanks in like things that he hasn't like worked on as the director. And it just creates like a really like nice way to make sure that like your talent is like continues being talent in the industry. Like there's so many people who like probably like get really disheartened and discouraged whenever they like, you know, learn the truth of like how rigorous it is to like be part of the anime industry. But it's never like that with KyoAni. Like they treat their staff members like family, and I really, really like love them for that. Like it seems like such a basic like humane concept, like, you know, treating your workers right.
But we all know how that goes.
It's so characteristic for the studio, just because like of how much love there is in all of their works that they put out. Like every one of their TV series and films like has like this like almost like signature feeling of like togetherness to it, and it's definitely something that has touched me on multiple occasions over my years as an anime fan.
Yeah, and for them to still deliver that same ideology even after the tragedy that happened, also incredibly impressive. Like there was that question mark period where, you know, there were some series that were hanging in the balance that like I remember when it happened, when the arson happened. I
remember hearing the news in real time, and I was like, so that is probably like the saddest I've ever been for people I do not like actually know in real life. And like that just goes to show how much like their works have impacted me as a person. Is like I felt like so like crushed that so many of these people who contributed to these works that have left their mark on me are now gone, and I'm like, it's so like it's so sad,
up, man.
Like,
people suck.
I was also like, after the fact, I also like had complete faith in the studio that they would recover, just because of how they are and how they want to foster talent in a healthy environment. And, you know, in lieu of like, you know, not having the people, like certain individuals on their works anymore, like it's almost as if like nothing happened, you know? And,
I like I said, I remember getting the news, and it definitely fucked me up for a good amount of time afterwards. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm a human being with emotions. That shit hurt me a lot. But I remember in particular, you know, there was a lot of questions on people's minds. They're like, what about the series that are ongoing? Like, are they gonna, you know, be canceled? I was actually completely expecting for Dragon Maid in particular. I thought it was just done. I thought we were never gonna get more Dragon Maid. And I was okay with that. You know, like this is such a horrible thing that happened. It would be selfish for me to expect like, well, they better fucking do something about it. And I think, like, you know, if you learn anything from this particular podcast episode, is that, like, please stop directing your anger and hatred at these people, because that's what they are. They are people, and they experience emotions just like you. And you know, they go through things that you will never understand, because you probably have never met an animator or a staff member in person before. You'll never have that level of understanding. Yes, they put out things that you enjoy, but at the end of the day, you know, if they have to take a break or if something happens or whatever, you have to treat them with respect and care, just like they've done the series that you come to love so much. And so, like, yeah, for Dragon Maid, I thought, you know, it was just done, and I was okay with that. Like, understandable. But for them to recover in the way that they did, it's so spectacular. And that's what, like, that's like one of the stories that I wish it didn't have to go that way. I really wish that it didn't happen. But despite that, they're still a studio that is pushing forward and not letting it hold them back. And they still are delivering, you know, the highest quality possible. All of us are very excited for the new, you know, Hibike and
my
whatnot.
God.
Like, it is just...
I was on the brink of tears yesterday, dude. Actually.
And so, like, you know, that if that tells you alone, like if a studio can do this to something, imagine what the shows can do, right? I mean, that's that level of depth and care that we give to the medium, and we hope that you guys can share in that as well.
Yeah. There's like a profound like sense of like camaraderie in the people who have like discovered themselves like through these works, and it's something that like I hold no shame for. If anybody like asks me, like, you know, what I think like has shaped me like the most like into who I am now, it's definitely this studio, and I will hold like nothing back when I say that.
Of course. I mean, why would you? Like,
there's no reason for me to. Like,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
just how it is.
It's like, hey man, you don't gotta explain yourself to nobody. Fuck them. What the?
It's crazy. So like, it's crazy, particularly with Kobayashi season 2.
Yeah.
Where like Takamoto was such a obviously extremely relevant part of season 1, and then, but the vision for season 2 like feels like literally like exactly the same.
Yep.
Yep. And you know,
keep up like some, because you can't really like, you know, you don't know someone's exact headspace when they're you know creating a show or all that stuff. So like, but it feels just the same, which is that it's pretty nutty.
And, like, that's because like, you know, Takuya Ishihara and Yasuhiro Takamoto were friends. Like, they weren't just like coworkers. Like, they knew each other. And like it really like goes to show like in season 2, like with how much of the original vision that Takamoto had was preserved and expanded on by Ishihara. It's just like, this is like how much this studio like treats their workers like family, and no other studio does that.
We can only hope that other studios look to them and adopt the same policies, because it would be such a better place if everyone could operate under the same, you know, under the same ideology that KyoAni does.
Yes.
Definitely something that I hope one day we get there. That is the main goal. One day, I hope they get there.
My go-to studio goes without saying.
Yeah, it's my favorite as well. One more that I want to talk about before we sign off. I think this one is probably maybe not held as high in regard, but it's still, I think it's still up there.
Yes, I was actually thinking about this one, and how like probably Miguel wants to talk about it.
Hey,
IG is just solid, all the time.
Yeah, like I think KyoAni is like the best. Like, just
you pretty obviously. I feel like it's just their reputation like speaks for themselves. But IG's my favorite because I'm just
that's
fair.
It's kind of crazy, totally like fair. How it's crazy how like a studio like this old is like consistently like putting out like quality stuff.
It's pretty nuts.
Like you've seen like other studios kind of fall to the wayside, and I think like the most representative of this is like Madhouse, where they've kind of, I don't want to say they fell off, but they're definitely not as making they're not making as quality content as like what they used to. But like with IG, it's like
to their prime, you know.
Yeah. With IG, there's like I don't know if there's like a prime, but they're always just putting something out
Yeah, I don't
every
think
year.
it's Prime.
There's
It's
so,
like
there's
since
so many
2012, they just been
impacts.
pulling out
Yeah,
the
they just
bangers,
have
you know?
really just
No,
been-
they've always had stuff since like 2000.
Actually, even
Like,
Fully
even
Cooley, that was
before-
2000.
Yeah, that Fully Cooley was 2000, bro. Like what the?
I
fuck?
like even
And it's-
before then, like they had what Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, standalone complexes. Yeah, like what the fuck?
Jinro.
It's so
They're the ones
insane.
who finished Evangelion.
Yeah, yeah.
Jinro
How
came
funny is
out.
that, bro? You remember Evangelion? Yeah, we had to step in and let them know real quick. You know what I'm saying?
They just so much. Like it's like
They just do so
they
much.
help out
The
a lot too.
volume, yeah, the volume is also a lot.
Yeah, they
on top
do a
of it.
lot. I think definitely the two genres that they stand out in are definitely sports and
Mhm.
sci-fi, which
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
not together,
Bobby-
obviously, but
Bobby, we're just simpletons, dude.
Yep.
It's like-
dude, sports or anime are awesome.
Psychopaths. They
Perfect
do
word on
Haikyuu and
Yeah.
they did like the two most popular ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, they do
Yeah.
Haikyuu, they
All
do
of the
Diamond,
popular
they
sports
Ace of
shows, to be
Diamond.
honest.
Yeah, like they're
They did Pretty Boys Running.
the
Like, they
essential
have sports
like
on
sports
lock.
studio. Yeah, they.
It's
they
so
are-
funny to me that you can just make a show that's basically just Pretty Boys running and it works.
Yeah.
People like it. People like it. It's popular.
Bro, it's the execution, bro. This is how it is. Like,
really
doesn't
is,
matter
dude.
what the concept is, as long as it's executed.
Oh right,
well,
they
people
just
like it.
Ace of the Diamond.
Yeah, dude.
They got
Yeah.
everything.
You know,
dude.
they're really good at sports studio. Like, it's without question. Like, they're really out here, bro. they just, I don't know. Like I said, like what we were talking about before, like the volume, the amount of stuff that they do on top of the consistent quality. And it's like, instead of it being like peaks and valleys, right? I feel like it's like consistently, it's like consistent and then peaks and then back to consistent and then peaks.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no valley. Like there's not really a valley whenever I'm talking about like IG shows. They have like a level of quality that they maintain, and then sometimes
They also
just
worked
go
on
fucking crazy.
Vinland Saga too.
Yeah,
like, it's like-
yeah. They've
it wasn't
actually,
just-
they've
it was
helped
Wit
on
and,
a
like,
lot
Wit.
of series.
Yeah, I was
Like,
winning them.
Yeah, like
It's kind of
there's
crazy
also
how
Wit
like you
in
think
them.
of IG and there's like there's like no
That's
show you
Titan.
can think of that's like particularly awful from them.
Guilty Girl.
Well, I mean,
Well,
They
I
did
mean,
well. They made
production
it well.
value's
It was
still
well made.
there, so
That's
it's
tough.
not like you know, it's not.
All right, that's something in my throat.
that's really tough. That's really, really tough.
Everyone's
Like,
allowed to
there's-
miss, but at least their miss was
Like their misses are
was-
like
it
they're
was
still they
humorous.
still look nice.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. And like,
Like
I, good.
as much as I think like Kuroko is like a huge miss, like it looks nice at times.
And people like it, which matters a lot too, right? Like, it, regardless of what we particularly think about shows, there is obviously a pretty sizable fan base for Kuroko, right? Like,
Yeah, of
and I
course.
think that matters, right? Because, you know, not everyone's tastes are necessarily going to be the same. And some people's tastes are just wrong, but that's besides the point. No, I'm just joking. But,
Some people's tastes are just wrong.
Let me- No,
I
I'm
think that's
saying,
part of the
like,
reason why I have so much hatred for Kuroko. Because Kuroko was like one of like the first, like, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 shows I watched. I was like, oh, I like basketball. Basketball anime? Yeah, sure. Let's go. And then I was like, everyone seems to like this. I'm ready. And I was like, what the hell am I watching?
yeah, it's just like, you know, at the end of the day,
And it's just like, it's a superhero show, but like also a
Yep.
sports show. And like neither one is like,
it's a battle shonen disguised as a sports show. That's what it is.
it tries to be both, but it does neither particularly well.
they're also doing Awashi, which is fucking hitting with me.
Standout. But like I said, their modern stuff, even now, like they've
Moriarty.
had some very standout stuff. Vinland Saga, very good. I really liked Moriarty as well.
Yeah, Moriarty.
They've
It's really
helped out
cool.
on some of the modern Titans as well. And then Awashi, which is airing this season, which is one of the better shows this season, I think too. It's really good. I'm really enjoying watching. Watching this.
they're doing Uzumaki.
Yeah, they
They're
are
doing Uzumaki.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
And that's
playing
pretty
to watch.
that's pretty positive news for Uzumaki because like Junji
The Junji
Ito is
Ito
like
collection was
Yeah.
not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
and
Junji Ito stuff
mostly
is, like,
because
art
mostly
to-
because that it came down to the studio again, and it just happened to be
Bro.
Studio Dean.
Horror is
Nice.
so like horror needs some love in anime, man. I'm so tired of this.
It's
Like,
hard.
it's so difficult. They get fucking shafted every time. Please, I have like, you know, IG pairing with Uzumaki though is that is something that is like I can have faith in this.
I don't know too much about like Junji Ito because like I don't
That's the
really.
goat of horror, bro. That's the goat
Like-
of horror.
But like I do know that like supposedly like stuff is hard to adapt, like and it's just because like horror is just hard to adapt in general. But hopefully,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I have faith. Like I said, there's not many studios that I would trust to do a prolific horror series, but like IG is part of that goated studio lineup that I think this could end up being quite good, as long as they're doing it the right way. But but,
in case anybody was concerned, Bobby had to go, so don't worry about like him like
he didn't get
disappearing.
heated. It's fine.
He said everything that he wanted to say anyway, so
Yeah. I think we're like pretty much at the end here, but they do have some stuff coming up. What is this? Rakudai Majo? Is this?
who knows?
Fantasy, the Klutzy Witch.
I don't know what it's a movie. Okay. Well, I don't know. I'll probably watch that when that comes out too. I don't know. It looks cute.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
I don't fucking know.
To me, like when I think of like IG, like I don't think like they do anything like particularly like revolutionary like the other studios that we've mentioned, but like their like consistency and like also like their attention to detail on some of their shows is just like so solid. Like especially like their sports shows. Like I haven't watched many like sports anime, but like from what like the sports enthusiasts here, like Miguel and Bobby, have like told me that like their like faithfulness to whatever like their show is covering is like very, very high.
Yeah, and that
like,
matters. That matters a lot, right? When you're speaking on someone's like passion, right? Like if someone's passionate about sports or passionate about this or passionate about that, that attention to detail to them is gonna matter a lot, because they're gonna be looking at you like, that's not how that works, bro. What are you talking about? That's not. Come on, bro.
Literally every single episode of like Aoashi, Miguel has like explained something to me about soccer that the show just like understands and executes really well. And even though I'm not much of a sports guy, I can really appreciate that aspect of.
In their defense, soccer is like a sport where like a little bit easier to do that because soccer is the most popular sport in the world.
Yeah.
It's like once you get to like, it's kind of like we talked about before. Like sometimes anime people and like animators don't double as musicians.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, some of them do, I guess. But.
Yes, no, you'd be surprised.
It's not common that, like, oh man, like if you're a talented animator, you're like professional at this other thing.
Yeah, it's not how that works. But the ability to seek out information and also evolve, because like when we talk about staff members and we talk about animators, we talk about writers, right? The thing about them is that they're still evolving, right? They're still people that are learning from their experiences, and they're refining their craft as time goes on. And so like even if they don't know about something it like super in depth, they could gain that knowledge and then become really good at it, even if they don't necessarily have that onset. And that is something that is like so important when we talk about the greatest animators of all time and whatnot. It's like most of the time they're not linear, they're not staying in the same place for 20 years. It's that this guy was already really good and he just continues to get better. I don't know how, they just keep getting better. What the fuck is this? What's going on here? I didn't think it was possible, but they do it. And like that's like the main thing whenever we talked about like UFO Table. That's what it feels like with them. It's like, bro, it just never stops. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Until like I see some of that in
honestly.
IG. Yeah, it's like, how could it possibly, like, they keep establishing ceilings, right? Every time we're exposed to the new peak in that style, and then they just break through it. They just get it's a new ceiling every time they make it. It's unfair. They make it unfair for everyone else, man. They make how is other studios and other people supposed to keep up with this? How? You tell me. I don't know. It's fucked up.
Anime is so fucking crazy. We glean from this
crazy ass medium, bro. Yeah, but I think we covered pretty much every studio we needed to. There are of course, guys, there's a ton of studios that obviously we couldn't spend time on. But I just wanted to go over and highlight, some of the more impactful ones, some of the more known ones too, because like there are studios that we could talk about are super abstract and none of you would really know what we're talking about, and that wouldn't be that as engaging for you guys. But I think we covered a good enough variety to where like people will recognize, like, oh yeah, I know that show that they did. Like
I was calling out that we left out Bones.
Yeah, I know Bones. Bones was on, so I have a list, and Bones was on my list, but I was like, I can't stop without talking about IG. I couldn't in good faith go without talking about IG. So, but yeah, no, Bones is also quite good. For sure, but like I said, you can't get everyone, and I sure as hell wasn't gonna leave out our favorites in here. I had to make sure to cover, UFO, KyoAni, Shaft. Like I had to, just because that's our favorite. So. And it's our podcast, so fuck you. But yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much the end of this week's episode. So thank you.
You are drowning, good sir.
Oh, am I? Hello.
You're airing. Your airing is drowning.
My what?
You
You're
were behind on. You were behind. You were drowning in the seasonals right now. You have yet to watch the latest episode for literally everything.
No, it's because we usually watch on Saturdays, and we didn't get to, so I'm watching on Monday. I'll be caught up. Relax, bro.
I see.
I'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
I'm just saying, once I see that, I'd be freaking out. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like,
and bro, when you watch this many shows, bro, you gotta keep a level head. It's very easy to get overwhelmed if you fall even a little bit behind. It'd be like that. But so just so we have our schedule thought out. So Saturday, well actually, so next Sunday there won't be a podcast episode. We're gonna do, I think next Sunday we have to do we have to do Made next week or the week after? So I want to fit in, because Made comes out first week of July. It's way sooner than I thought it would be. And so like one of the next two watch parties has to be Made. And so we could either do it next week or we could do it 3 weeks from now. It's up to you guys. I don't really care. But the other one,
probably not for us to say, because we're usually free on Sundays either way.
That's true. But we need to do that, and then we still need to do we said we were going to do Vampire in the Garden. Because that's short, so like that's not that big of a
It's really
commitment.
an easy one. You can just say for whenever. It's not going anywhere.
That's true. That's true.
This is on the horizon, so I think that should take priority if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do Made right before it comes out, because technically we could do it the Sunday before, but that just might be a lot for people.
Might be too much.
Yeah. So my main thing is that if we do it, if we watch it, and maybe there are people that can't stay for the whole thing, if we do it right before the new season drops, then they would never catch up in time. They don't have any time to go back and watch what they missed. If they didn't get to see the movie or they missed some of the episodes. So let's do Made next week. Let's plan to do Made next week. And then we'll do podcast week after that, and then the week after that we'll spin the random button, and we'll find a time for Vampire Garden somewhere in between. But yeah, the last random series was
disaster. I can say for certain that was a certified JC staff show.
Certified by the sovereign of garbage himself.
It was a JC staff show of all time.
Bro,
I'm now remembering some of the things that happened in the show. I'm like, what the fuck?
The valleys of that show were fucking egregious.
Little did you know that C in JC staff stands for C's get degrees.
Oh my god, you hate to see it.
It was just a barely passable watch.
Yeah. All right,
that's pretty much it for us, guys.
Khalil, I don't know if you and I want to indulge ourselves, but there were 2 previews that were dropped within the last few days.
Yeah, okay. We can do that.
We might want to show the people.
Okay. I'm down for that. Let me pause this. Also, Kobayashi OST has been holding us down, bro. That shit is that's some good shit right there. Yes, sir.
I haven't listened to the season 2 OST. I've listened to the season 1 OST extensively. But if it's if the season 2 is any different, it's just I might have to give that a good listen. So, anyways, this is the preview that was dropped literally yesterday for the next, or I guess the final Hibike Euphonium adaptation. So, if there was any confusion to what this is, because there definitely was for some people, the theatrical OVA that is releasing in 2023 is the last chapter in the second year novels. So what that means is that the second year was basically covered in all of the movies. So Liz and the Bluebird, Chikai no Finale, and now this theatrical OVA will be the last chapter that wasn't adapted. So all of the second year will be covered in movie form, which is very cool. And of course, the third year, the final year, gets its own TV anime. So God, I was so happy. Let's roll the clip.
I-
そして、次の曲が始まるのです。
Next piece begins.
Bro, they be raw dropping shit on us, bro. They really be
Dude.
doing it to us.
Yeah.
They really be doing it to us.
Those of you who are not aware, like Hibike Euphonium is my favorite anime of all time. It's the most like meaningful, like impactful piece of media that has made me who I am today. And just to see like the finale of the series like finally get announced, just like it's indescribable like how like happy and fulfilled this makes me feel. And God, I'm so ready.
It's like one of those feelings that like I hope everyone gets to experience their favorite series like getting continuation or closure. Unfortunately that doesn't happen for everyone, but you know, we're lucky enough to where our final our favorite shows are receiving, you know, continuations. Even in some cases where we didn't think there would be. Like for me, like I didn't think Madoka movie was gonna happen. Like what the fuck is
That
that?
was out of nowhere. That was like the craziest drop
Bro,
ever.
I was like, what? I thought we were done. Like it's like,
Yeah.
But my favorite, or one of my favorites, I think at this point it's safe to say it's tied for my favorite. Made in Abyss season 2. They not only dropped the PV, the third PV, they also announced that it's the first week of July. So it's really soon. It's way sooner than even I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like middle of July, end of July. They were like, no, first week of July. And I was like, oh shit, we don't have much time left. But
This reminds me, we didn't even like talk about Kinema Citrus in the studio.
Yeah,
I thought of that too.
Kinema's one of the goats for sure. We
黄金
need
鏡を目指した決
to,
死
one
隊
day we'll have that discussion.
故郷に人に捨てられた者たち名もなき神を信じその源泉を人ならざる者に求めさまよってきた
黄金都市原住民たちは鐘楼と呼んでいた意味は帰らずの都決して戻れぬが黄金都市は実在すると黄金鏡だ
本当にあった
我々こそが地の底の黄金鏡の最初の民となるのだ
私たちはまだ知らなかったこの地から人は人の姿のまま戻ることができないこの子ついてきちゃったみたいで
道案内に困ってたんだ心強いよ
ブエコ来てくださいみんな昨日まで微熱だったのに
時間はあまり残されていね頼んだよブエコあの子は必ず我々の救いになる
この子の願いは一体何に届いてしまったのだろう
大丈夫みんなにも振る舞ったさ
I'm so excited.
First week of July.
That's
Bro,
crazy.
first, like,
Crazy.
how
Oh,
is it
Kevin
this soon?
Peckett.
How is it this soon, bro? And like,
Oh,
bro, I'm so glad that they keep getting Myth and Roid for their endings too. Like, I'm super down with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I once again, like this was out of nowhere. Like I didn't expect to get another PV before it came out. I thought they're just gonna be like, all right, yep, it's coming in July, and we'll see you when you see you. But It's like a few days ago, they're like, yeah, no, we got another PV for you. This is the third PV, by the way. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay.
Oops, I dropped this latest PV for Made in Abyss. I'm so clumsy.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that? I don't know, bro. It's like I don't even know if I'm ready, bro. It's so soon. Like, but yeah. So that's what we'll be watching. We'll be watching the original Made in Abyss series in the movie next week. To like give people sufficient time to watch it, and then also be ready for season 2 if you need to catch up. And then we'll do a podcast the week after that, and then kind of decide where we're going from there. I guess we'll spin whenever we do the next podcast. I don't know what our topic's gonna be, but we'll figure that out. Hopefully not a day or two beforehand. Like this time, this one's kind of last. I at least had the topic in my mind though. I just wasn't sure if we were gonna get it done because of the time constraint. I was like, we can only do it at one time, so I don't know.
We lost one of our sovereigns, but that's okay. He said everything he wanted to say.
Yeah, that's facts. But yeah, that's pretty much it from us, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys. See you guys next week. I'll post details of the watch party in Discord, probably today, just to make sure people know ahead of time. And yeah, we'll see you guys when we see you. So until next time, Goodbye, friend.
Bye-bye.
All right, take it easy.